There it is. So, just for anybody new that was one, because that's the worst thing about visual novels, especially if you have it in multiple streams, but this seems clearly a little bit longer than just a short thing. But basically, we haven't really gotten too much into it. We learn about, because this is the main character, her name is Marnie. She, is 16 years old, and she's, kind of rebellious, a rebellious teenager. She's having problems at school. She has a mom that's a therapist and a dad that I'm not really sure what he does, but he's like kind of goofy. He makes a lot of puns, and she's definitely a daddy's girl. But then you meet the grandma, which she's been seeing fairies. Everybody thinks she's just going senile after the death of her husband. Excuse me. And so we're staying with her for a little while the mom and dad goes to a vacation, and Marnie goes on a picnic through the woods, and then encounters like a forest where she gets lost in, and she ends up here being confronted by a knight. Possible time travel. Who knows? Because he's mistaking her for a lady, a princess or something. Yo, lesbian dating sim? Yeah, it's a Yuri. It is. It's been good pretty far. I was watching Faye Druidia play it. I gotta remember the voice. I gotta get into it. It's hard to find good Yuris. Because the way it was explained to me is like yaois are usually directed towards females, and Yuris are actually directed towards men. But that leaves yaois being very emotional and like story driven, while yuris are oftentimes just sexualized, and it lacks a plot and story, which ends up the quality for yuris are just tanked a lot of the times. But this one's clean. It's so there was no tags or anything saying it was 18 plus, and someone else was playing it on stream. And the visuals and music has been really beautiful. A lot of girls at my school have weird names that are hard to pronounce and even harder to spell. Celtic names are in right now. In my class alone, there's an Alana and Sobin and a Mackenzie, but there's no one called Leo. I'm just Marnie Lennox. I live in Grimsby with my mom and dad, and I don't want any trouble. I never even wanted to go to Fen Chapel in the first place. I didn't mean to wander this far into the woods. I'm really sorry. The knight observed me silently for a few moments, his fingers resting upon the hilt of his sword. Marnie? That's right. My name is Marnie. That's my name, not Leof. Not Leof, she says, but she looks so much like her, it is impossible. No, it can't be. The knight's fingers tighten around the hilt of his sword. You must be lying, just like every other accursed creature that lingers inside this forest. No, I'm not lying, I promise. What would I gain by that? I do not know. Don't ask me. I have no idea how you creatures work, or you who look so very human but aren't. You have toyed with me for centuries, not content to let me die. You have trapped me here, showing me things that cannot exist, that should not exist. My Leof is dead, and you are marking her memory for my own amusement. Well, no longer. It is my duty to protect Leof's memory. I won't let it be tainted by the likes of you. The knight draws his sword from his sheath with a metallic cry. I had hoped that his sword would be nothing more than a convincing prop, like something from a school play, but I was a little too optimistic. I don't know anything about swords, but I know enough to realize that this sword is the real deal. The tip has been filed into a sharp point, and the light makes it look sharper still, discolored so it is with age. If this knight cuts me with that, I'll bleed all over the forest floor. Then I'll die.
But why do you tarry so, foul demon? Why do you not disappear on the breeze, as your kind so often do? You are looking at me like a lost child. Do you seek to mock me? Please, do not say that you doubt my resolve.
No, I glanced from left to right, searching fitfully for a way out. I don't think there's any way I can explain myself to this knight. He seems convinced that I am some kind of sylph, or a fairy, or maybe a wicked changeling that stole his beloved Leof's face. Normally it'd be easy to laugh off such accusations, but it's hard when it's coming from a fantastical figure like this. I feel so lost and confused, I'm almost beginning to wonder if he's right.
Let us fight, then. You are so confident in your skills.
Epic music change.
The knight charges forth. He must be skilled with the blade, whoever he is, because it seems to slice the air itself in two.
I jumped back just in the nick of time. If I'd been a fraction of a second slower, the tip of the sword would have been embedded between my eyes.
Do not cower from me. It is of no use. I shan't steal my hand, even if you beg for mercy. It may run contrary to the rules of chivalry, but you spat in the face of decency when you dared to mock me so.
The knight's movements are graceful, just like a rippling water. His sword flashes through the air, each strike aimed with fatal precision. It's all I can do to keep dodging. The knight should have stayed in the 8th century or wherever he came from, but it's uncomfortably clear, as much as I don't want to admit it, that this forest doesn't operate with a normal human logic. The lake shouldn't exist, and neither should the knight that haunts its waters. But it does, and he does, and if I don't make hasty retreat, he's going to carve me up like some Halloween pumpkin. I can't stay here any longer, I have to run. I dash wildly through the forest, my breath falling on the lips in desperate pants. The sole of my shoes slap against the uneven forest floor. My twisted ankle aches, but I can't afford to listen to its protests. A few split seconds could be the difference between life and death. My hair streams out behind me. I bet I'm getting it all tangled, which is a pity. Everybody says my hair is one of my best features. You really are pretty, Marnie. Your eyes are so blue and your hair is fair and blonde. You look just like a fairy. This coming from the mom that we learned that she's so uptight and everything else. I'm almost wondering if she's jealous of her own daughter. At least, if you didn't wear all that awful makeup. My mom says my white foundation and dark eyeliner makes me look like a cadaver. Dad is slightly more generous. He says I look like a panda. I've wanted to dye my hair black for a long, long time. I tried to broach the idea with Mom, but she's almost hit the roof. Judging by her reaction, you'd think I'd ask to get a septum piercing or a tattoo, both of which I think are pretty cool, but my mom sorely disagrees. Hi, Kate. Oh my god, your 2D model looks so good, thank you! Look at the tail. It's not as lagging as much right this moment. I love the tail. Tail's the best part. In fact, I think my mom would be more chill, though no less perplexed, if I came home with a skull tattooed on the inside of my wrist, than my hair dark black. Yo, that's it. Thank you. Yuri. Don't ask Marnie. Don't even joke about it. You can wear ripe fishnets and paint your nails black if you really want to, though I certainly don't understand the appeal, but you can't touch your lovely hair. It'd be such a waste. My mom acts like dyeing my hair would be a tantamount to murder. It's one of the things she absolutely refuses to budge on. I've thought about dyeing my hair anyway, just to spite her, but I don't know if it's really worth it. I don't want to argue with my mom. I'll just dye it when I move away from home, then she can't complain. It's a win-win situation, really. I've been looking forward to the day I can get rid of these Barbie-esque locks for years. But if I don't pick up the pace, that day will never arrive. I'll die. I don't look back, but I'm sure the night is hot on my heels. I feel like I've been running for hours, but I haven't made any progress. The trees cluster around me more tightly than ever, pressing in on me from all sides. Their roots snake out from beneath the dirt, as though trying to trip me. It's like the whole forest is alive, and it's conspiring to bring about my downfall. Is this because I swore at the strange, disembodied voice I heard earlier? If I'd put on the good girl act I wear around my grandma, would it have come to my aid? Maybe it would have warned me about the night by the lake. But it's a little too late now. I run and run and run, churning up the dirt beneath my trainers. My arms and legs are sore, and I can taste bile on the tip of my tongue. My heart is hammering so hard, it feels like my ribs are going to splinter. But I'm not used to all this exercise. I'm so not a PE kind of girl. I always try to feign having a period when PE rolls around, but Miss Whitman caught on to me. Either there's something very wrong with you, Marnie Lennox, or you're pulling my leg. Who has 4 periods in 1 month? This is absolutely rock bottom, utterly abysmal luck. If only I'd pushed myself harder when we did cross country instead of pretending to have stomach cramps, and maybe this wouldn't be so hard. I could run like the wind, avoiding any and all obstacles. But I'm no superhero. I'm just Marnie Lennox, wannabe goth girl, and I don't have any stamina, and I've had enough. I want to go home. I really can't believe that Gran was right all along. I never should have ventured this far into the woods. I apologize to Grandma for doubting her, and I'll apologize to Miss Whitman for lying to her, and I'll even take an interest in Aunt Lita's barmy palmistry nonsense. I'll atone for all the sins I've accumulated in my short little life, so please, I don't want to die. My right foot falls against the ground with a dull, firm thud. At least it should, but instead it shears through nothingness. The ground was gone. The earth shears away like a giant stair step. The drop isn't all that steep. If I had to hazard a guess, I'd say it's 3, maybe 4 feet down to the ground, but I don't fancy my chances. I don't want to break my leg. That would really scooper my chances of escape. I teeter, trying to regain my balance, but it's no good. It's too late. I'm already falling. Time seems to slow to a crawl. I feel the wind against my face stinging my cheeks. The leaves of the forest rustle about me menacingly. When I strain my ears, I swear I can hear the sound of laughter, but perhaps that's my own addled, overactive imagination. My side hits the ground with a thud. I roll over winded and gasp for breath, curled up on myself like a collapsible telescope. My palm flies out, trying to grab something, anything, but the world is still spinning, and the sharp spike of pain shoots up my arm. I think I must have pressed my hand right in a patch of stinging nettles because my palm feels like it's on fire. What are nestles? They've referenced it like several times, but I've never... I don't know. Fauna I've never heard of. My leggings are riddled with holes, and my shoulder is bleeding, and my right hand is covered in red welts. As for my hair, which my mother loved so much, well, the less said about that, the better. If my mother could see the sorry state of me now, she'd surely scream. But my mother isn't here, and neither is my father, nor my grandma. I'm on my own, and if I don't get back to my feet, that night will find me. I need to run. I push myself upright, desperate, trying to bite back the pain. Nettles are a stinging plant. They are really pointy. Oh, they're like little balls that are spiky. I never knew what they were called. I think we have some outside because they keep getting tracked into the house, and then I step on them. No? Oh, you'll get a rash? No, the ones we have are just like spiky balls. I'm relieved I can still walk. I haven't broken anything, though my body feels slow and sluggish, and my twisted ankle throbs. I hobble away as quickly as I can, searching here and there for somewhere to hide. It's like a crazy game of hide and seek. I used to play hide and seek with Ruby and Pearl all the time when we were little, and I was pretty good at it. I've always been small, so it's easy for me to slip into gaps and crevices others wouldn't think to look in. I have pretty sharp eyes, too. I just need to pretend this is a game. I can't think that my life's on the line, then I'll be so paralyzed with fear I won't be able to keep moving. Where can I hide? I need to look. Look, look, look! And then I see it. There, not a few feet away, is a tall, stately tree, but it's not like the other trees in the area. This tree is particularly broad, and the base is hollowed out. The cavity in the tree's base is rather small, half hidden by a fringe of leaves, but I think I could fit inside if I pressed my belly against the ground and crawled. I'm sure I can. If I can get in there before the night finds me, I might be able to hide myself away inside the tree's trunk, then I'll be safe. Unless it's a door to another world. I changed my course, still hobbling, my stinging fingers reaching out for salvation. I stoop to a crawl, wincing as loose twigs bite into my fingers, and make my way into the unknown. Rough bark scrape against my shoulders, the trees pressing down on me from all directions. Then I inhale. I can smell moss and dirt in the air, so overpowering it makes me feel lightheaded. It hurts to breathe and my whole head is spinning. Maybe I'm crawling into Wonderland. Pretty much what I just said. Will the mossy ground give way beneath my elbows and knees to reveal a hidden entryway into an illogical world where caterpillars smoke cigars and knights of old wander around a black and white chessboard? Well, I've already seen a knight during my travels. Guess I'm halfway there already. No matter how much I crawl, the pathway inside the tree seems to stretch on endlessly. The tree can't possibly be this large, but then again, I thought that about Franchepel's forest. I'm not ashamed to admit that I've been wrong about a lot of things today. I mean, who'd believe this? This is crazy. I'm gonna take a sip right fast. I'm starting to doubt my own sanity. But the smell of earth is thick on my nostrils and my loose twigs bite into the pads of my fingers. And no, it's not a dream. I venture deeper and deeper into this never-ending tunnel. It's so dark, I can't see 2 inches in front of my own nose. My fingers grope amongst the darkness, pulling my aching body ever onwards. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know anything. For all I know, I could be wandering into a well-laid trap. But what other choice did I have? This is my only hope. I have to push on. Suddenly, the tight passageway veers to the right. I turn, blinking, and grasp as the ceiling above me opens up. I'm not inside the tree any longer. In fact, I'm not even sure if I'm inside Franchepel's forest. I haven't been sure of that for the last couple hours. I emerge in a forest clearing, hemmed on all sides by thick trees festooned by hanging ivy. Birds twitter amongst the branches of these trees, fluffing their feathers, and what feathers! Some of these birds are crimson, like rubies, while the others are deep blue, like sapphires. Their eyes are keen and intelligent, and they regard me with a mild suspicion as I emerge, bruised and scuffed and dirty, from the darkened passageways. I wonder if these magical gemstone birds appear in any of my grandpa's books. Does this clearing appear in any of his maps? I'm doubtful of that, to say the least. The grass is green, studded here and there with wild flowers impossible to name. Bees buzz from the heavy drooping heads of these silken flowers, and beautiful butterflies hover in the breeze. It's a quiet kind of place, peaceful and relaxing, like a small slice of heaven. Is this clearing part of the real world? Maybe time ticks backward here, and fish swim in the sky, and it rains sherbet lemons. I wouldn't be surprised, not anymore. I tear my eyes away from the flowers and the butterflies and the birds, searching for, what? I don't know. A way back home? If I had a pair of ruby slippers, I would click them and make a wish, but I haven't returned into any fairies, good or otherwise, unless that night counts. Somehow I don't think he does. It'd be nice if there was a door inlaid in one of these mini tree trunks decorated with fern and ivy with and a wooden signpost pointing back to Graham's home. There's no door. There is, however, a girl. Love interest? Uwu? She lies against the gnarled tree trunk, her face dappled with the shifting sunlight. Girl. It's a girl, everybody. It's a girl. It's a grill. Her skin is white and chalky, despite the green light that kisses her cheek, and her eyes are closed. Her hair is a soft hazel color and is tied up with a green ribbon. In her lap, a girl holds a sheathed sword, the decorative scabbard, inlaid with semi-precious gems, glisten. The girl's fingers hold the scabbard loosely, barely curled, about its hilt. Does that sword belong to her? God, I love girls. Her lips are pursed, as though in sleep, but she doesn't stir, not even when I approach her, my clumsy feet disturbing the loose leaves scattered on the ground. Do you like visual novels and Yuris and stuff? Because I actually have a couple more, but I can't really play them on stream because they're 18 plus and stuff. I mean, I could probably play it if I didn't have the 18 plus download pack or whatever it is. Or I guess one of them's not a Yuri, the main one I was thinking of, but anyway. The girl looks to be about my age, maybe a little older. She seems almost ageless, though. Her legs and arms are entwined with leaves, like a marble statue in an overrun garden. She must have been here for a long time, but how long is that exactly? Hello? I take an anxious step towards the girl. She unnerves me, but she's not half as scary as the night I ran to earlier. If she's a normal human like me, though, the mere concept of normality feels like a fleeting illusion in this forest. I can hardly leave her here. And if she isn't a normal human, maybe she can help me. What could go wrong? Hello, I don't mean you any harm. Another step forward. A lot of weird stuff happened today, and I'm still trying to process it, I guess. Do you know what's going on? Never been big on VMs, but maybe I just didn't play the correct ones. Yeah, it depends on which ones. I kind of got out of them. What would you say the appeal is to you, as you seem to like this genre? Well, it's kind of like, because I got out of them, like I said, but I got back into them with VTubing because of, I like doing voices, I like reading, I like getting into the play of things. I get to play along with the character while I'm streaming. And honestly, I'm a hopeless romantic. I really like romantic stuff. And this is labeled romance and Yuri and stuff like that. And it's been a very pretty game. I don't know about the writing so far. It's not bad. It feels like it's been going on for a while now without too much happening. But I think we're getting into the grit of it. But yeah, I would definitely... if you haven't been into visual novels, it really depends. Because a visual novel, I feel like you can take the same person and, depending on which visual novel they start with, they could either love visual novels or hate it. It just depends if you get a bad one or not, or a bad few in a row. But this one's been okay. My review is still pending, depending on what happens. Still, the girl says nothing, but maybe that's my fault. What did disembodied voice say earlier, before all this chaos started? Tell me that to mind my manners, didn't it? I thought that voice was trying to get a rise from me at first. I didn't realize it was a threat, with a very real promise of punishment hiding behind it. If I'd had known, maybe I wouldn't have been so rude. You shouldn't have been rude to begin with. You met a complete stranger and then you were a butt to him. It's just, that's one of my opinions about children and teenagers and stuff. A lot of them seem to think that, because they're surrounded by adults, that's always like, oh, you have to behave yourself, don't cuss, mind your manners around the children. But that can backfire, because then the children thinks it's all about them. People have to mind their manners about them, and in parts of their mind it makes them think that the world revolves around them. And I don't know, I guess it's just how people are raised, with manners, or treating people with respect, and this, that, and the other. I don't know. I don't really know what goes through kids' minds for them to just meet a random stranger and have it in them to just instantly be rude to them. I don't know. Maybe it was just my upbringing, because me and my brothers, we would have been smacked in the mouth if we talked off to somebody like that. I don't know. Well, I can always try to make amends. They have to respect their elders! It's not even that, it's just... I don't know, you could break someone's entire day by being rude to them. I usually fill them out. I'll be kind until they open their mouths. And if they seem like they're an asshole, that's how I'm going to treat them. But I don't know. Just treat people with respect until you can determine if they're a good person or not. I must have left them back in Grimsby. Not that I've ever been a paragon of politeness. My name is Manny Lennox. It's very nice to meet you, miss. I'm sorry, but I don't know your name. Could you tell it to me, please? I take my short skirt in each hand and drop a neat curtsy, like I've seen the ladies do in the period dramas my mother liked so much. Yeah, exactly. Assume the best, prepare the worst. Plus, you don't know what people are going through. They could just be having a bad day, too. Oh. Hi, Hex. Hi. How you doing? I'm gonna take a drink. Good morning. I mean well, but the gesture probably looks ridiculous, coupled with my torn leggings and my too short skirt. Is that why the girl doesn't move? I guess that's a no-go, huh? Maybe I'm wasting my time. I drunk all water. It's actually sweet tea. I turned my back on the girl. I can't expect too much from a corpse. Whether she was alive or not at one point, she clearly isn't anymore. It's like you were trying to talk to her repeatedly, and whenever she doesn't reply, you decide to leave. What if she was in distress? I would feel for a pulse. I would, because one of the tricks you can do is you can lick your hand, or just, I guess you don't really need to lick it, but, you know, try to feel for a breath. And if she's not reactive, I don't know. I would be panicking. I would be worried about the girl. What we up to today, lovelies? Yeah, gay visual novel. It's a Yuri. Basically, it's a land of fairies, apparently. A goth girl, or wannabe goth girl, that's rebelling against her parents, gets herself lost in the forest and gets recognized as a very similar striking resemblance to a princess. And now we found the possible love interest, and she's like a warrior-looking woman. It's been very, I don't know much about the writing, but the visuals are very pretty, and the music, they've been put a lot of effort into the sound design so far. I turned my back on the girl. I can't expect too much more from a corpse. Okay, I just read that one. At least that's what I think. Until I feel it. Brand's necklace is throbbing. Is this an isekai story, by the way? I'm not quite sure yet. We just now crawled through, because of, we were staying with, Marnie's, the main character that you just saw, her grandmother, while the parents were off on a vacation. And the grandma warned her of fairies and to be careful. And then we, basically, we walked through the forest, and then, no matter what way we turned, we couldn't get out of the forest. And then, we crawled through, we encountered a, warrior that, was delusional and kind of, angry, tried to attack us, and then we ran and tried to escape. And then she was going to hide inside of a large tree trunk. Whenever she crawled through it, it led into a magical clearing. So it might be isekai, or it might be time travel. We don't know yet. Probably Marnie hasn't died yet. Yet. I turned my head, alarmed to find. She's kind of cute. That girl is moving. Her eyelashes flutter, then she raises her head, slowly, very slowly, like a sleepwalker. Then she opened her eyes. I learned that they're an earthy brown, like the soil beneath my feet. Her gaze meets mine, her brow furrows. Oh, getting tongue-tied. Her brow furrows. Fair lady, are you the one who woke me up from my slumber? Fair lady? You mean me? Indeed I do. Who else would I be speaking to? You are the only person here other than myself, and you are certainly fair. Ooh, flirting already. Well, I dug my head, my cheeks turning pink. Though why, I feel so embarrassed, I can't fathom for the life of me. You're into girls, Marnie. I'm used to being called Barbie or Rapunzel and a dozen other things besides, but I've never once been called a fair lady. Oh, Denkai, nice voice work. Loving the voiceover. I'm glad you like it. Like I said, I really love doing voices, and I've been trying more on the female voices. I was getting myself a little confused when I was doing the mom. But because I don't have too many female voices. It sounds old-fashioned, like an arcane, like something from an Arthurian myth. But that sort of language seems to suit this girl. There's something very dignified and noble about her, almost like she's a knight herself. Thanks, I guess? You do not need to thank me. I was merely stating a fact. Really, though. The girl yawns. I do feel quite exhausted. I remember I was strolling through these woods with, Mopinos, and then I was overwhelmed with fatigue. I lay down to rest for a while in this charming glade, but it appears I've been asleep for quite some time. The girl affixes her sword to her belt and rises to her feet and looks about. You did not happen to see Mopinos when you were walking through the woods, did you? Mopinos? Who's that? Why, he's my, beloved stallion. He's been by my side since I was a young girl, younger even than you. I mean, I'm not that young, you know. I'm already 16. 16, is it? The girl looks me up and down. You don't look it, sorry. You don't look it, I assumed you were younger. Yeah, oh no, she said steed, so horse. There might be a little delay. But, that's what I thought too, though. I thought it was going to be the knight, maybe a brother or something. Yeah, people do that. Then I apologize if I upset you, my fair lady. Though I must say, you're nothing like any lady I've met before. The knight could be the steed. Are you saying he's well hung? You never know how the fantasy world works. clothes are that you're wearing, might I ask? The cut's quite unique, and the patterns, too. I'm just wearing a shirt and a skirt, that's all. Why is she staring at me like that? A skirt, is it? How strange. I've never seen anything like that in my life. Is that a bad thing? It is unusual, yes, but I do not think it's bad. I have never been one to care much about appearances, even my own. It was how deep his voice was, he's a unit. My brother scolded me and said it was most unladylike, but, well, my manner of dress is quite unconventional, too. I'm sorry about the music. The laundry is going in the background, and usually you can't hear most of it, but it has like a little ringtone to let you know when it's done. I've never been that interested in playing the role of a pretty maid. It gets so tedious, you know? So, my fair lady, might I ask your name? It's Marnie Lennox. You've not heard anything? You're good? Oh, that's good. I was trying to talk over it, too. Marnie, is it? What a curious name. Everything about you is unusual for her. I'm getting the names mixed up. That's one of the things I was actually talking about last stream. I think if I ever made a visual novel, I would make every character a different color. Because I should not have to look up to the name to know who's speaking. I also have trouble between them speaking and narrating dialogue. They need to be different colors for every single character. At least that's what in my opinion about a good visual novel. It should be very, very easy for the reader to instantly know who is speaking. Everything about you is unusual, from the way you speak to the way you dress, so I suppose your name should be no different. In fact, it would be tedious if your name were something commonplace like Hilda or Adelberga. Agree with you on that. It's just, you know, make it as easy for the people that you're trying to sell the visual novel to. It makes it far more enjoyable if you're not struggling to, you know, fight your own mind about who's talking and stuff like that. Part of me wants to ask what in the universe Hilda and Aldeburga are commonplace, but I think I know already. This girl looks corporeal enough, and I'm talking to her like I would any of my classmates, but there's nothing normal about her. She's not from my time, and she doesn't belong in my world. Oh, imagine, what a great idea, Haley. They should have made Marnie's text box gossip. Yeah, yep. That would made it easy. Could even tie it to her character. Yeah, like it changing as she changes as a character throughout the story. Yep, basically what you just said. And updated looks as she grows as a person. Yep, I agree. That would be a very unique and wonderful thing to do for a visual novel. Her color grows as she grows, traverses through her adventure. Stretchies. I don't know if you can hear my bones cracking. She's not for my time, and she doesn't belong in my world. She might appear to be young, but I'm prepared to bet she's sleeping in this forest for hundreds upon hundreds of years. Well, as I have asked your name, would you care to return the favor? Oh, yes, you're right. I'm sorry. What were you called? I'm pleased you asked. My name is Leof. It's a pleasure to meet you. Oh, the girl that the knight was talking about. Oh, how long has it been since I felt the sunlight on my face? Leof holds her arms up in the air, the hem of her cowl fluttering in the breeze. Leof's clothes are made of coarse-looking material I can't quite determine. Probably, leather, hides and skins. Her shirt is green and it's cinched in about the waist with a leather belt, while her legs are clad in brown trousers. I don't know where her outfit came from, but one thing's certain, you never find something like this in Primark. She looks like a waxwork doll from the Time Trap Museum come to life. Or maybe a LARPer? The wind feels nice and cool, and the air smells so sweet. It really is wonderful. Yeah, the knight was looking for her. But he also seemed to think that she was dead, and he also seemed like he was, gone for a really long time, so... I don't know, maybe this time, this, forest traps people, because we met a fairy, last stream. Or supposedly a fairy. We couldn't find him. He was trying to speak to us, but we couldn't locate where he was. I think he was a fairy. But he was saying that people for centuries have been getting trapped in the forest. And I think it's more than just being lost. That maybe their souls, their very their person is stuck beyond time. I take it you don't get out much, huh? I haven't had the chance. I don't know how long I was asleep for, but it must have been quite a while. Try more than 1,000 years on for size. I don't think even Sleeping Beauty slumbered for quite that long. She had a handsome prince to awaken her from her narcoleptic curse. But I'm no prince. I'm just an average teenage girl with a healthy appreciation for Killstar and American Horror Story. Which, that's actually an interesting story that she brought up, Sleeping Beauty, because of the original Grimm's fairy tales of Sleeping Beauty. The original story was that she was a princess that was put under a nasty spell, and the prince didn't come and kiss her, but basically raped her in her sleep. And then she woke up due to childbirth 9 months later. But yeah, all the Grimm's fairy tales were just like the name implies, Grimm. Yeah, the prince did come. This may be a curious question, but I simply must know, what year is this, my fair lady? Well, this is the 21st century. 21st? Are you sure that's correct? You're not trying to trick me, are you? No, well, why would I do that? It might be a lot to take in, but I'm going to be completely upfront with you. It's 2018. 2018? My goodness. I have been asleep even longer than I realized. I thought perhaps a decade or two had passed, a century at most, and yet... It would appear I have much to catch up on. Just a bit, yeah. And yet, I can speak the same language as you, and I can understand you more or less perfectly, certain phrases aside. How can that be, unless language has remained static for centuries? This doesn't make any sense. That dates the story, yeah. Maybe we fell asleep too, and waking up 2023. So, of course, it makes no sense to begin with. It simply is not possible for a person to sleep for centuries. I should be alright to be dead, but I feel as live as that bird or that tree. This must be because of magic. Magic? Yes, indeed. Everyone knows that this forest is enchanted. The ground is lush with mana, and fairies offer favors to those they take a liking to. Was I blessed by the fairies too? Though Leof is another proponent of the fairy camp, is she? I should introduce her to Gran. They'd get along swimmingly. I have slept for quite a long time, but I certainly feel refreshed. That is one good thing, at the very least. No, the ads. Well, I will personally wait for you to get back from the ads. Good morning, Ack. How are you doing? Good morning, Ack. I'm doing pretty good today. I didn't sleep well, but I'm enjoying the visual novel, so it's raising my spirits a little bit. The blinking is a very nice touch. I kind of wonder... I mean, it's probably easy enough to, like, draw the character in various poses and every so often have, like, the eyes move. But if you really wanted to get into, like, making a visual novel that's not like others, I wonder if you could use something like Live 2D to make animations or something and bring the characters to life. You slept too well. Did you sleep like a rock? I've definitely done that before too. You're back. Welcome back, Haley. And also let me know if my avatar or the follower goal was ever in the way. I can make it smaller, move it, or whatever we need to do. Or even get rid of it if it's too distracting. You could. There's a scene record option. Setting up toggles would work to do that. You mean with the visual novel? Would need to check what Ren'Py supports. Model is perfect. A bit small, I would even say. Gotta show. Oh, you want me to make her bigger? 1 second. No, wrong scene. I might have to fix my Vroid. Bigger. And then, oh, my throwing system. Hold on, I got swap over here for a second. Copy. Paste. And then, hold on, I gotta bring up throwing system so I can see what it's doing. Okay, that's is that better? Not too big? I mean, whenever I look over at chat, it, my tail goes over there, but it should be fine. Ren'Py is an engine for making visual novels easily. Oh, I'll have to... You know what? I'm gonna write that down. Maybe I'll make a visual novel one day in the future. I've actually looked into it a while back too. I thought that might be a good Ren'Py. Okay, it's written down. Love it, kind. Good. I'm glad you like it. Yo, that sounds like an amazing idea. Imagine a visual novel where you get to play as my character Kine and follow her trail of you know, becoming sentient, her lore. I think that would be a really good idea, and I could introduce characters from all my friends in animated reality and stuff. Have them as the characters in background. Leof stretches her arms above her head, smiling all the while. That was an IQ moment. I love it. Maybe one day in the future. Must have goals. I must say, she's taking this remarkably well. Is that because she's from a time where magic was accepted as a matter of course, or is she just thick-skinned? I do wonder what would happen to Mopinos, but he is a clever horse. I'm sure he'll be fine. That is, if he isn't long dead by now. But this is no time to be sad, not when I feel so free. For the first time in, well, I do not know exactly how long it has been. That's the issue really, but look. The leaves on the trees are so very lush during this time of year, and the birds have never sounded sweeter. The whole forest is in bloom. Well, it is the middle of summer. Summer, is it? That is my favorite time of year. Everything is so gray and dreary in the winter, and there's never enough food to eat. People up and down the century go hungry, waiting for the fresh, harsh snowfall to thaw. But summer is a time of new life and laughter. Leof practically skips through the forest, her chestnut hair fluttering behind her. Leof's kinda cute. These woods have not changed one bit. They are just as I remembered them. I'm glad you seem to know where you're going, at least. Oh, of course. I have a good sense of direction. You need not worry. I can navigate these beaten tracks like the back of my hand. I will get us out of these trees in no time. If my memory serves me well, there should be a settlement beyond these trees. My guess, settlement is one way to describe it. Though that puts me in a mind of makeshift houses built from wood and mud. Fan Chapel isn't too far from here, at least it should be. I've been trying to find it for hours until I stumbled upon you. And I am very pleased you did, though I'm curious about the so-called Fan Chapel. I do not think I've ever heard such a name. If memory serves her well. Yeah, you even acknowledged that time had passed. You really think that town is going to be there? And if it is, it's probably like built up. Well, that's what the village, settlement, it's called, I clicked. Settlement is called now. I guess it went by a different name back in your day. Whenever that was. My grandma lives in Fan Chapel. I told her I was going for a walk a few hours ago. If I don't get back soon, she'll be worried sick. Your grandmother? My goodness. Then we better make haste. That is, if time moves the same speed, we may end up finding that everybody's much older when we get home. And my girl, you've been asleep for a millennia. Do not worry, Lady Marnie. I shall return you to your grandmother in due course. As a knight, it is my duty to protect others. Right. I Leof hesitantly. She's a strange girl, there's no doubt about that. Nothing but about her feels quite right, from her clothes to the lilting cadences of her voice. I can't quite place her accent, but it's not the same northern drawl as my mother's side of the family, or the slightly lusher RP accent of my Lennox relatives. I bet she has the same accent as I do. Honestly. Where is she from? Ireland? Wales? I'd use her name to give me a hint, but Leof doesn't sound like any name I've ever heard of. Perhaps she really is around Fan Chapel, like my father's side of the family. But it's Fan Chapel from hundreds of years ago, when the English was spoken was very different. There is no such thing as standardized spelling. Nothing about this girl is standard, but though she has no place in my ordinary life, her presence is strangely comforting. It's just nice, I guess, to have somebody else with me, even that somebody else is the strangest stranger I've ever met. Now, let us be on our way. There is no time like the present. We would be faster if we had Mopinos with us, of course, but never fear. I shall guide us well and true. You sound so sure of yourself. But of course, I am a knight, and you are my charge. It would not do to show fear before a fair maiden. You're a maiden too, you know. In body, yes, but in spirit, who knows? Transgendered Uwu? I was forever being chastised in my youth for acting out of line, particularly by my brother. He said it was unseemly for girls to swing swords around. Well, your brother sounds sexist, so... I know he only had my best interests at heart, bless him, but it was quite aggravating that he never deigned me to take me seriously. He really should have, given how often I bested him in combat, despite being his junior. Roasted! Just roasting his brother up in here, hundreds or thousands years later. I hope, in this day and age, the 21st century or so you said, women are allowed to carry swords without being castigated. Well, I cast a serotipitous gaze at the scabbard hanging from Leoth's burnished leather belt. In this century, nobody's allowed to carry a sword around, man or woman. You'd be arrested if anybody saw you with that thing. Arrested? Apprehended is a type of punishment. You mean, I would be paraded through the streets and flogged within an inch of my life? No, I wouldn't go that far. I don't know about the Dark Ages or wherever it is Leoth comes from, but their justice system sounds pretty hardcore. It's like something you'd expect to see in the 9 Inch Nails music video. You'd probably be put in prison though, or fined at the very least. Swords are dangerous weapons. People aren't allowed to carry them as they go about their daily lives. It'd make everybody uncomfortable. It makes them uncomfortable? But why? I can understand being concerned if the sword belongs to a brigand, but I am a noble knight. I would never dream of harming an innocent. I only carry this with me to protect others. And maybe that was socially acceptable back in like 800 AD, but it isn't now, and times have changed. You gotta deal with it. I see. I cannot say I understand this reasoning, but if that's what Bernicia has decreed, I suppose I must obey. Well, it's what the government's decreed. The government? The people who govern the, you know what? Never mind. I'm not all that good with politics myself. I hardly ever watch the news. I think it's too boring for words. It's just a bunch of old men in suits arguing with one another, all the while trying to be as vague as possible. I am so not the right person to educate Leoth about the intricacies of British politics. I will carry my sword with me while we walk through the woods, for protection, you understand, but I shall conceal it when we return to the nearest settlement. Does that sound pleasing to you, my lady? I guess so. I guess it sounds pleasing, yeah, but how are you going to hide that thing? Leoth's attire is rather simple. Leoth's attire is rather simple, and it doesn't look like it has any pockets. Not that you'd be able to fit a sword in a pocket, of course. They're pretty bulky. Leoth doesn't seem concerned by minor logistical issues, however. Her smile only widens as she says, "It is a simple matter. Observe." Leoth rests her hands against the hilt of her sword. She mumbles something softly beneath her breath, in a strange language I can't parse, and then... Oh. In a cloud of ghostly light, the sword melts away from her hip. One moment it was there, the next... How did you do that? I know it shouldn't be too impressed by this little display. Leoth's mere existence is shocking enough, but I can't help but stare at the place where her sword should be. If I had any doubts before, they've been since swept away. Magic really does exist. It is quite simple. My sword was bestowed upon me by the fairies. It has quite a few why can't I pronounce that? Intriguing properties. As you saw for your own eyes, it's convenient, isn't it? That's right, very. It'd sure make hauling the shopping bags back home easier. I'm not entirely sure what you mean, but if I can aid you in any way, I would be glad to do so. I am not particularly skilled at anything, save swordplay, but I would lay my life down to defend yours, my lady. Leoth takes my hand in her own, a sweetly earnest expression on her face. I am in your debt. I appreciate the sentiment, but it's fine. I don't want you dying for me. I'm not worth it. But you are. I am only here because you awoke me. Though how, I do not know. You must have used some very powerful magic. I can't use any magic. I'm just Marnie. Come now, you are being modest. You must be a talented mage. You used your skills to grant me life anew, and as such, my body now belongs to you. Hey, don't say things like that. Like what? Like that. If Leof keeps saying stuff like that, steam's going to start pouring from my ears. My poor heart can't keep up. For a girl who hails from a time before exfoliating cream and toothpaste were commonplace, Leof's unfairly pretty. Her hair is glossy and her eyes are fringed with long eyelashes, and her skin is even smoother than mine. In fact, it almost looks like she's been overlaid with perpetual beauty filter. Is that also thanks to the blessings of the forest fairies? Excuse me. She must be beloved by all the strange things that lurk in Fenchapel's forest. But why then did she leave her sleep in that sacred glade for centuries? What happened to her? Did she fall afoul to some vicious black magic, or else?
Leof, where are you, Leof?
Ah. I turn, extricating my fingers from those of my companions, and come face to face with a new threat. It's the knight who accosted me by the lakeside. He's come back. He arrived so suddenly, without any telltale footsteps. I have to wonder if he was magicked out of thin air. It would be the first time today I've seen things appear and disappear when they shouldn't. Yeah, she was assuming that, I mean, they both kind of assumed that we were in present day, but what if we're not? What if we're teleported back to, Leof's time instead? Oh, I'm gonna take another drink. This forest doesn't obey the laws of physics. Objects which should remain corporeal can vanish without a moment's hesitation, and humans can tumble through cracks in reality itself. This is all so strange. I'm starting to wonder what's really real and what isn't. It feels like a dream. But my ankle still aches, and I'm covered in bruises, and I know it isn't. This avenging knight tried to kill me once before, but he was unable to fulfill his goal. Has he come back to finish the job? That night. I take a trembling step back, my legs struggling to support my weight. He chased me. He said he was looking for Leof, and then... But you... That's your name, isn't it? Indeed it is. Then he was looking for you? I would not be surprised after all. Oh. I would not be surprised after all. He is my own dear brother. So he is the dude's brother. We kind of guessed correctly, but... We took the wrong route, but ended up at the right destination. I glance between the knight and Leof, my eyes darting back and forth. You know him? I used to know him, but he does not seem to be the brother he once was in life. My dear Edmund. Sorry, I got the names. Again, with the names getting... I used to know him, but he does not seem to be the brother he once was in life. My dear Edmund. My poor, foolish brother. I suppose I could consider myself fortunate that I can reunite with him after all these years, but he does not seem to be himself. He must be under some kind of enchantment. He would never have attacked you otherwise, Lady Marnie. I apologize on his behalf, and I'll try to talk him around. I only hope my voice can penetrate through the fog. Leof stands before Edmund until the two long-lost siblings are face to face. She looks at him imploringly, one hand pressed against her chest, and says, Edmund, please, listen to me. Do you recognize me? The knight, or Edmund I suppose his name is, looks Leof up and down. His helmet winks beneath the green sunlight, his movement slow and heavy as he considers.
Leof.
Yes, I am your sister. Yes, I am your sister. Do you not remember me? You were forever chastising me when we were younger. You said being a knight was no profession for a woman, but I never listened to you. I was very naughty, ill-behaved sister. I caused you a lot of grief. I won't apologize for my actions, for I still believe I was right, but I hope you can forgive me for worrying you so. Edmund surveys Leof silently. It must have been centuries since these siblings last saw one another, but there are no joyous cries, tearful eyes, or tender embraces. The atmosphere in the forest seems to plummet 5 degrees. Even the birds nestled amongst the trees stop singing. The tall, uncut grass sways at my feet. In the wind, I swear I can hear faint voices whispering, be wary, traveler. All is not as it seems. Do not be quick to trust, but nothing in this forest is as it seems. Everything is upside down and topsy-turvy, and Leof is the only one I have to cling to. He's the only one I can rely on. Edmund might be her brother, but he acts as no brother should. Instead, he regards Leof with stony suspicion, his fingers resting upon the hilt of his sword.
No.
Yes, Edmund, do you not recognize me? I am your sister. I'm getting Leof's and Marnie's voice mixed up.
No, you are not. You are not my Leof.
But I am, I swear, on our mother's life.
You know nothing of my mother. She is already dead, and so soon you will be too. I will not fall for the same trick twice. I was never known for my smarts, but I am not stupid. You will pay the price for your pretenses. I will tear apart anybody who takes my sister's name in vain.
But, I'm not... Edmund, please. But Edmund does not listen. He's so deeply entranced in his own madness, Leof's word can no longer reach him. He draws his sword and dashes forth, ready to deal a decisive blow upon his own sister. Leof! Do not worry so, my lady. I can handle this much. Leof dances about her brother's blade. His sword rims in the air, leaving Leof herself unscathed. She's a lot more nimble than I imagined. Her every step is light and graceful, like a dancer's. Though she's only been awake for half an hour, she's easily runs rings around her brother. Alas, my poor brother, you are too slow. You could never best me when we sparred as children. It will be the same here, too. Leof's fingers reach for her own blade, though she banished it once before. It appears anew in her hands, emerging from the ether in a burst of bright white. Edmund raises his sword to strike another blow, but Leof parries him expertly. Their blades clash, steel against steel, ringing through the forest.
So, you have stolen not only her name, but her sword. What else of hers have you taken, you foul monster? I will retrieve it from you by force.
I have stolen nothing. This sword is truly mine, just as you are truly my brother.
That cannot be true. Stop filling my head with your lies.
Edmund strikes again and again, but his movements are slow and ponderous compared to Leof's. He can't hope to match her. Leof, meanwhile, almost seems to enjoying their bout. Oh, does it feel good to move my body again? Leof dances expertly around her brother, weaving and ducking between his thrusts. Edmund is moving more slowly now, but what he has gained in speed, he's trading for accuracy. His strikes are frenzied, but they fail to land. Leof jumps back, avoiding his sword, and thrusts like a fencer. Her blade clangs against Edmund's as he staggers, winded. Your skills still leave much to be desired. He might be older than I am, but I am more determined. I will claim this victory, just as I bested you all those years ago, when we were young.
Cease your pretenses, you foul witch. We will never spend time together. How dare you steal the memories I shared with my sister?
Edmund lunges forward, but his movements are wild and sloppy. Leof parries and they strike with ease. Swords clash, sparks fly. Leof is smaller than Edmund, but he can't push her back. The heels of her shoes are wedged firmly against the ground, and her eyes are narrowed with resolve. Edmund, please, I am telling you the truth. Why can you not see who I am? Why will you not open your eyes?
Enough. I cannot keep listening to this. You are trying to poison my mind.
Edmund draws back, sword in hand, and surveys his sister. Is he searching for an opening, perhaps? His determination hasn't wavered despite being unable to land a single blow. He really does mean to kill Leof, but why? What did she do?
She told me that I would face challenges upon my quest, but I must cut them down in order to claim my sister. You must be one of those trials sent to test me.
She? Who are you talking about, my dear brother? And under whose influence have you fallen?
That I cannot say. I will not say. I will not engage in pleasantries with an impostor who has stolen my sister's name.
Edmund charges anew, but Leof deflects his strike. Leof's chest is now beginning to rise and fall. Her breathing sounds ragged and worn. It looks like she's flagging, but she continues to parry her brother's blows. If it weren't for the cool wind on my face, nor the long grass brushing my ankles, I'd almost think this is a scene from a movie. A plucky young girl who dreams of being a knight, single-handedly bested an armed warrior in vicious combat. It really is incredible. But I know if Leof makes a single misstep, her life will be on the line, as will mine. If Edmund kills her, he'll soon come after me, and I don't have any means of defending myself. I'm the weak link in Leof's otherwise impenetrable defense. And I think Edmund knows that too.
Very well, if you insist on fighting back, then I'll reply in top. Return. I will end your miserable life and that of your companion too. She escaped me once, but not again. I won't let any of you monsters get the better of me.
My companion? You don't mean... No, Edmund, wait.
But Edmund
does not wait. He is no longer glaring at Leof, his sword raised, but with the intent to kill. Instead, his eyes, obscured in shadows of his helmet, are fixated upon. But that's one of the things about a knight. If he was a true knight, that wasn't being, coerced by whatever's befallen him, the cursed or whatever, he wouldn't go after the innocent. He would continue fighting the woman with the sword.
Die, vile monster.
No! I duck, holding my hands against my ears as though this might somehow protect me, though I know, of course, that it's useless. I'm no knight unlike Leof. I'm just Marnie Lennox, an ordinary girl who can barely jog one length around my school without collapsing. I thought I was ordinary at least, but it looks like my death will be stuff of fairy tales. I'll be run from top to bottom by a knight, deep in an enchanted forest where pixies and sprites dwell. It sounds almost romantic. I bet there's a whole bunch of airy-fairy poems written about the exact concept. As far as deaths go, it's kind of aesthetic. I could get behind it, but the finishing blow never comes. Instead, I hear a sharp gasp of pain, a little above my head, and then a few drops of moisture bead on my cheek. Trigger warning if this is possibly blood. I didn't know if they was going to show it, so. I look up, my eyes wide, staring. Leof is standing before me, sword in hand. Her face is chalky white, and her brow is twisted with consternation. Though she holds her sword tightly in her hands, there's no blood upon her blade. Instead, rivulets of crimson blood trickle down her right arm. It leaks from her shoulder in gouts, staining her fingers like bad Halloween makeup. She jumped between me and Edmund just in time, but she wasn't able to parry his blow with her sword. Instead, she took the fatal blow with her own body. She used herself to shield me, and now her shoulder's been cut clean open. Leof, are you alright? I am fine. Leof winces, a faint sheen of sweat beading on her forehead. It is nothing fatal, just a scratch really. I have suffered wounds far, far worse. This is nowhere near enough to bring me down. But you're bleeding. I know, but in a way, I am almost glad for it. Feeling bled for the sake of fair mating is an honor for any knight. And at least this lets me know I really am alive. I was asleep for a long, long time, but no more. You might be my brother, Edmund, but I will make you rue the day you turned your blade on my lady. That is a coward's gambit, and for that you will pay the price. Leof charges forward. She parries another one of Edmund's oncoming blows, and then another, and another. The wound in her right shoulder is gaping open, but she doesn't relent. Instead, she continues driving forward, relentlessly. She's enraged, incensed, and she looks utterly captivated. Well, I suppose that could have gone better. Leof sighs as she gingerly presses her fingers against her shoulder. The wound is a deep one. It gapes open, revealing soft red flesh like the inside of a pomegranate. Despite her injury, Leof was eventually able to drive off Edmund. Perhaps knowing this was a fight he could not win, Leof's blade sheared right through his stomach. So my real question is he still fighting with his knight's honor? Or is his mind been clouded too much, and that's why he's being so disgraceful? Perhaps knowing this was a fight he could not win, Leof's blade sheared right through his stomach. Then he disappeared. Following Edmund's less than honorable retreat, Leof collapsed on a nearby tree trunk to tend to her wounds. And that more or less sums up the frantic 5 minutes. I had hoped I would be able to show you my skills as a knight too. It is most unseemly allowing oneself to be run through like a fish. I don't think you were unseemly. That was very kind of you, my fair... That is very kind of you, my fair lady, but you need not fuss over my feelings so. I am a knight, and I can handle your criticisms. I could have deflected that blow, if only I had been more careful. But when I saw him ready to attack you, I was unable to think. I was afraid you were going to be hurt. That's nice of you, but you hardly know me. Would you really be willing to risk your life for my sake? That is what I said, is it not? As a knight, it is part of my duty. I can feel my cheeks turning pink. I've never heard somebody say they die for me before, let alone a person I've known for about an hour. It's kind of flattering, I guess. But there's something pretty intense about it. Aren't we basically strangers? My clothes are in ruins. They are quite ruined. Should you really be worrying about your clothes right now? You're covered in wounds. Oh, I can take care of that. Leof sounds awfully confident, but I'm not so sure. I don't know much about the state of healthcare system back in the medieval era, but from what little I gleaned in primary school history lessons, it wasn't that great. You're not going to tell me you're a qualified doctor, are you? She's probably going to use magic. No, I am not, but I trust that the fairies of this forest shall protect me as they always have. See? Leof presses her fingertips against the wound. I watch, mouth agape, as her split skin slowly begins to mend itself before my very eyes. The flow of blood stems, and her flesh knits itself back together like one of the Grand's natty old scars. What in the... I know it's pointless to ask, but how did you do that? Magic. Of course, right, it's magic. I mean, why wouldn't it be? I think I can feel the beginnings of a headache. I think I need to sit down. Oh dear, you are not suffering from sunstroke, are you, milady? Your skin is awfully pale, and it's quite hot today. You should be careful, else you will start to blister. Don't fuss over me. You're the one who was hurt. I'm not usually so shy when you're short like I am. You have to be scrappy or people walk all over you, but when I'm with Leof, I don't know, it's hard to know how I should act. Maybe it's because she's so unlike anybody I've ever met before. She's kind of off-putting. Does your shoulder still hurt? The wound is closed, so it should stop bleeding, but I fear I will need time to recover. While I can still hold a sword, it would be unfortunate if we were run into more enemies. I never imagined my own brother would try to kill me, though. He must be under the influence of a wicked spell that the only explanation for his insanity. I like to counter that this deep in the woods, rationality doesn't exist, but Leoth's melancholy musings stir a memory inside my chest. I heard a voice myself as I was walking through the woods. I wasn't able to identify the speaker. I never had a chance, but it was soft and lilting. I think it belonged to a woman. The speaker's unusual accent sounded quite like Leoth's own, as a matter of fact. Were they the one who enchanted Edmund? Well, there is no sense sitting here any longer. Leoth gets to her feet, her fatigue seemingly forgotten, and smiles at me. Would you care me to escort you out of these woods, my lady? Our progress was impeded, but we should be able to resume our journey. The word "my lady," it's often misconstrued. I was told that it doesn't really matter, but it just depends on the context. But whenever you look up the words, it's supposed to be milady, M-I-L-A-D-Y. By saying "my lady," it's like saying like, you know, more of a lover's thing. But milady, it's like saying milady of the court. So I don't know. Our progress was impeded, but we should be able to resume our journey. It's all very well and good, but milady, tips Fedora. I look at Leoth skeptically. Is there any way to examine a knight from a bygone era? My arms folded. What are you going to do, Leoth? I need to get back to Gran's house, but you don't have anywhere to go, do you? Oh yes, I suppose you are correct. If this really is the 21st century, I have no surviving family here, except for Edmund, of course, and he is not in his right of mind. I will have to rescue him, but I cannot do that at present. First, I need to find a suitable dwelling where I might rest. Then, in that case, I nudge a hooked tree root with the tip of my trainer. I feel like I'm going to regret this later down the line. Why don't you come and stay with me? So we are in present day. My goodness, this is incredible. I know you said the settlement about the forest had changed somewhat, but I never imagined, not in all my days, that it would be like this. Leoth looks around the drab, highly uninteresting Fanchapel street with a wide eyes, desperate drink in every little detail. Not that there's all that many details to take in. Fanchapel's a pretty small village. It's comprised of a few grey roads, several fields, a dilapidated train station, and a forest that holds far more secrets than first meets the eye. I suppose this street is the High Street, but it's hardly a bustling hub of activity. The establishments that line this road can be counted on one hand. There's a small privately owned corner shop that sells newspapers and milk and penny sweets. And that's about it. There aren't any groceries or florists or pharmacies in sight. And clothes stores? You can forget about that. Whoever designed Fanchapel obviously decided clothes are for fancy city dwellers and not born and bred Fanchapelians. Or Fanchapelites? I'm not sure. There's a primary school nearby too, a small red brick building with two symmetrical chimneys on either side. The school is fringed by a small playground devoid of any playground equipment. There are no swings or slides here, only a few hopscotch patterns drawn on the ground in chalk, ringed by a fence. Since it's the summer holidays, the school playground is devoid of children. A few trees are dotted here and there, their leaves rustling in the summer wind, and that's about it. Fanchapel's a ghost town, village rather. There's nothing here that's all that interesting, but... Are these houses made of brick? How ingenious! It must work wonders at keeping the heat during the winter months, and that building there with the wooden fence. Leoth points at the primary school with its old-fashioned chimneys and large lightless windows. It's absolutely huge! That's what she said. It's really not that amazing. Oh, but it is. Somebody of great import must live in that building, I'm sure of it. Could it perchance be owned by an important feudal lord? Or else the king of Bernicia himself? No, it's just a school. A school. A place where small children learn how to read and write. Oh, such a building exists in this area. How marvelous. Tuition must be incredibly expensive, though. I suppose only elite are allowed to attend these so-called schools. No, it's free. Everybody goes to school. Really? You are not trying to trick me, are you? No, why would I do that? Leof seems confused enough as it is about modern customs. I can hardly wait to make things worse for her, the poor girl. Not that she seems all that upset about how much the world has changed over the last several centuries. She's staring at her surroundings like a tourist. But Franchapel isn't like London. There is no historical monuments or high-rise buildings. Everything's flat, grey, and dull. I'm a little perplexed about Leof's excitement, but I guess to her, even a tiny village like Franchapel must seem like a feat of modern engineering. Everybody has to go to school. We don't have a choice. If we try to bunk off... Bunk off? Skip school. If we try to do that, we'll get in trouble. The headmaster of my school sent a very stern letter to my parents when I skipped school during sports day back in year 9. I didn't even know why he was so angry. It's not like I was missing anything important. Who even cares about sports day? Says the girl that was just complaining about having trouble running from a man trying to kill her with a sword. But why would you not want to go to this so-called school? I do not understand. We did not have such things in my time. Only the exceedingly wealthy had anything in the way of education. The rest of us had to live our own ignorance, unable to raise up the ranks. I would love to have learned how to write my own name, but I was never given the chance. Well, I guess things must have took a little different from your perspective. For as long as I can remember, I've regarded school as particularly cruel and an unusual punishment. I've never thought of others might see it as an opportunity. I've been feeling pretty down since my dad dropped me off in Franchapel yesterday, but I guess I'm pretty lucky, huh? Yes, indeed. To be born into an enlightened era like this, where people live in brick houses and they are entitled to an education. I think it's incredible. I was never even able to dream of such a haven when I was younger. The world has come such a very long way. Leof twirls about, laughing, her arms outstretched. Her fingers are extended outwards like a ballerina's. Her right hand smeared with droplets of her own dried blood. A woman emerges from the nearby corner shop, clutching a brown paper bag to her chest. She turns, meaning to pass Leof and I by the school, and when she passes Leof, she branches and hurries by. She thinks she's trying to avoid us. I can't say I blame her. Leof does look quite the sight in her wild eyes and splatter of blood staining her right sleeve. Instead, she was scared instead of asking if the young lady was okay. She clearly hurt herself. Hi, Leof? What is it, my lady? Could you, chill with your excitement for 5 seconds? We're getting close, some funny looks. I don't know if Leof understands half of what I just said, but at least she has a good sense to look apologetic. She ceases spinning, her hair rumpled, and laughs bashfully. I apologize, my lady. I know my behavior is rather uncouth, but I cannot help myself. This might be commonplace for you, but it's rather new to me. I keep burping, I'm sorry. It is as though I have woken in an entirely different world. I feel like the heroine of a mythic yarn. Right back at you. I sigh. Well, you'll just have to get used to it. I can't have you twirling around like that when we're walking through the street. It isn't safe. You might veer into the road and then you could get hit by a car. A, car? Leof looks at me uncomprehendingly and I groan. I should have known that'd be a whole other can of worms to open. You might need to tell her about it though, because if she sees this big metal beast veering around, she's going to probably try and slice it with her damn sword and jump in front of it to protect her. Me and my big mouth. Well, never mind that now. We need to hurry back to my grandma's house. Yes, my lady, I am at your service. At least she's obedient. Let's press on. Grand's house isn't too far away. Nothing's far away in Finchapel. This village is tiny. But first, can't you do something about your clothes? My clothes? Leof looks down at her coarse green garb with some surprise. Is there a problem with them, my lady? They make you stand out like a sore thumb, and your arm is covered in blood, for goodness sake. Can you magic yourself a new outfit, something that blends in a little better? I apologize for disappointing you, my lady, but I cannot comply with that request. Why not? If somebody else sees her covered in gouts of blood, they might think of violent murders taking place. I don't want anybody calling the police. Then Leof will discover firsthand what happens to people who broke the law. I do not precisely know, but my magic does not work like that. I can make my sword disappear at will, for it has been enchanted by sylphs, but alas, I have no other clothes to change into. If you wish me to wear something else, you will need to procure the necessary items for me, my lady. Oh, I see, of course. I mean, why would a magic work it the way I want it to? That'd be way too convenient. How am I supposed to introduce Leof to my grandma now? Excuse me. Hold on, I need to move my OBS a little bit. I can't see the bit rate. Apparently I did drop some frames, but I really think it's my CPU having issues. Okay, I'm gonna take just a short throat break. Magic is in a cure-all. Apparently not. Oh, I haven't saved in a really long time. There we go. I thought about telling Gran the truth as I walked back to her house, and even had something of a speech prepared. Hey, Gran, you'll never guess what. I went to the woods, and then I crawled through a hollow tree out tree into the secret clearing, and found this strange girl. She says her name is Leof, and she's a knight from, like, the 8th century? Can we keep her? Please, can we? She doesn't have anywhere else to go, and she doesn't mean any harm. She's even house-trained. No, well, no well-adjusted person would swallow a tale like that. My dad would take it as a joke, while my mom would anxiously feel my forehead for a temperature, but my grandma just might. She's an old and susceptible enough, and she's already an ardent believer in fairies. When I come to magic, a female knight displaced in time is almost benign. But in the end... So, Marnie, you said this girl is your friend? I feed Gran a tissue of lies instead. I know lying is wrong, but in this case it's a necessity. Gran talks about magic too often as it is. I don't want her relaying these wild tales to Moira when she comes back from her big shop next week, or even worse, my parents. As long as my grandma sticks to speaking about vague, oblique magic like fairies and brownies, she seems relatively harmless. But a fully fledged delusion like this might be taking things a step too far. Uncle Jim is concerned about Gran's mental faculties as it is. Shortly after Grandpa's death, he tried to get her taken into an old person's home, but Dad and Aunt Lita and Aunt Allison resisted.
So she talks about fairies, Jim, so what? She's not causing anybody any harm. Her beliefs are barmy, yes, but she isn't wandering the woods in her nightie trying to catch pixies in a net. Let's just let her be for now. If anything gets worse, we'll talk. But she's self-sufficient enough for now, and I think being in her own home will be good for her. It's all she has left to remind her of Dad.
This saga has been going on for the last few months. I'll have to dip for now. Thanks for the stream. Thank you for being here. It was really fun. Hope to catch you next time. I hope you come catch my stream again too. Bye boy, ciao for now. Uncle Jim's desperate to get Grams taken away, mostly because he wants her house to himself, or so Dad says. I don't want to give my greedy, grasping uncle more ammunition. That's why I decided to tell a little white lie regarding Leof's true identity. I think it'll be easier for everyone that way. But unfortunately for me, Leof doesn't make the most convincing 21st century schoolgirl. The most Leof stepped foot in my grandma's not so humble abode, she started to look around with the eagerness of a child at a theme park. My grandfather clock in the entrance hall produced from her a soft gasp of delight as she did the paintings on the wall. I was able to shepherd Leof into the living room with some difficulty, but she seemed even more overwhelmed here than she was before. The mahogany bookshelves and the plush reclining chairs are a particularly source of interest for my unusual guest, but nothing has commanded her attention more than the widescreen television. I guess her weird clothes aren't helping her case either. Though I did scrub the worst of the blood from her sleeve before introducing her to my grandma. I just hope it's enough. Did you say her name was Leof? That's right. My, what an unusual name. It's very pretty, though. I don't know what accent I'm giving her. I was trying to... That had a pretty good old person voice going on from last stream. It's very nice to meet you, dear. How did you know Marnie? Leof doesn't reply. She's too busy staring at the television. I don't think I've ever seen anybody more fascinated by a blank monitor before. Leof? Gran looks at me, frowning. Is your friend alright? She's fine. She's just a little tired from the long journey. She came here on the bus, and you know what the buses around here are like. Oh yes, they stop at every single small village between here and Grimsby, and the roads are awful. You get rattled around like a bowling pin. It was good of Leof to come here despite that. You must be good friends. Yeah, I guess. It's not like I can tell Gran I've only known Leof for a few hours. That'd make things way too complicated. That she go to the same cool school as you. That's right. I was complaining to her about having to spend my summer here, and she decided to pay me a visit so I wouldn't be bored. Isn't it right, Leof? I nudged Leof in the ribs with my elbow, and she jumps. What? Oh yes, indeed. That is correct. I came to Fen Chapel so I could see my lady, Marnie, because we are such good friends. Her delivery is so wooden she might as well be reading off a script. Not that Leof can read. She's never been to school, and like me, she never had a chance to learn. She's also rotten at telling lies. I wonder if that's the side effect of being an honorable knight. Maybe twisting the truth that goes against her chivalric code, whatever that is. Well, at least there's one thing I'm certain of. Despite her striking looks, Leof would make an absolutely terrible actress. I had to pick her up from the school bus outside the corner shop. It was a bit delayed, and that's why I took a while getting back here. I'm sorry, I didn't mention it sooner. It kind of slipped my mind. Oh, that's quite alright. I'm forever forgetting things myself. I hope you have inherited my patchy memory, Marnie. It can be quite the burden. Tell me about it. Miss Partridge is always getting on my case when I forget the stupid foil method, whatever it matters. That cow had it in for me since day one. Now. Gran tuts reproachfully. That's no way to talk about your teacher. I'm sure Miss Partridge only wants the best for you. Remember, I used to be a teacher myself. Yeah. Anyways, I hope you weren't too worried that I took so long to get back. I was a bit concerned, yes, but I have faith in you. You're a clever girl, Marnie, and I knew you'd be safe. You would never be so foolish as to venture too far into the forest, particularly after all my warnings. Yeah, right. Gran has so much misplaced faith in me. Pretty much all the adults in my life, Miss Partridge being chief among them, I think I'm a colossal screw-up. My mother's forever getting on my case, and my teachers all make sarky remarks when I conveniently forget my homework or PE kit. I'm not used to adults genuinely believing in me. Well, if you give them more of a reason to, you seem like a spoiled little crap. Spoiled little shit. If only my grandma knew the truth, would she be so quiet to quite so quick to trust me then? Well, it's certainly kind of you to venture out here during your summer holiday, Leof. Though I have little to keep you amused. There isn't much for youngins to do in these parts, I'm afraid. There aren't any shops or cinemas. I'm afraid you'll find it dreadfully dull here. Are you sure you won't be bored? I very much doubted I could be bored. Even if I'm tired, I have only explored this fine settlement. I dig Leof in the ribs with my elbow. Was that surreptitious blah words? Maybe I need to go back to school. At least it seems that I had to have gotten the point across. I mean, village for a short while, but it's quite commendable. You need not worry about me. I am certain I will find no shortage of things to do here. Well, that's quite reassuring, though. I fear you're being too kind. I'm fond of this place myself, but I know it can't hold a patch on Grimsby or even Cleepthorpe. Cleepthorpe? Where's that? You haven't heard of it? I hurry to interject before Leof can make her ignorance even more apparent. Leof goes to my school, but she's not from Grimsby. She lives in, what's a suitably tiny, out-of-the-way village Leof might hail from? I might have a pretty thorough knowledge of all the towns and villages near Grimsby, since I always help my dad navigate while he's driving. I run an alphabetical list of suitable settlements in my head, pondering before I settle on Fulstow. Fulstow, is it? But that's even smaller than Finchop. I know, right? Leof's always telling me that there's nothing there. She was even impressed that Finchapel had a school. Can you credit it? Her parents are kind of protective, so she doesn't get a chance to go out much, either. Anyway, can Leof stay with us? She came all this way to see me, and your house is huge. She can have one of the spare bedrooms. There's loads of them. Well, I suppose having another guest might make things a bit less lonely. You wouldn't believe it now, but this place used to be so lively once upon a time. I had 5 children, and though herding them off to school every morning was stressful, it was also very rewarding. I felt like those times would always last. But then my children grew up, moved out, and they had children of their own. It was just Frank and I for a while, but he passed away last winter, and this big house has never felt emptier. I suppose that's what happens when we get older, but... Rand shakes her head, her pale eyes roomy with reminiscence. Well, never mind all that now. I don't want to put your friend off. There's nothing more intolerable than a silly old woman who can't stop harping about the good old days. On the contrary, my good woman, I find your stories most interesting. I am of the opinion people should learn from their elders and betters, for they have experienced things we have not. That is the only way we can better ourselves. Why, if this were the 8th century, you would be respected for your advanced years. People would come from miles around to hear your words of wisdom. Is that so? Yes, indeed. I have interested in the 8th century, and I know these things. Well, I do fancy being a druid. My children, bless their hearts, don't take the ramblings of their old mother seriously, and neither does my lovely Marnie, though she nods her head and pretends to act interested. Lamau. Take another drink. Kind of makes me wonder where the story is going. Is there going to be more action? It feels like it could go both ways. It could be a really good ending, and like they go into the romance of trying to put Leof into this century. I don't know. It feels like there's a lot that could go on for it to only be a 4.5 hour stream or game that we've already been going on. 2 hours this stream, and then however long I was last stream. I don't know. It just seems like a lot of possible story for such little time. Hopefully they don't ruin it by trying to speed things along. My children, bless their... blah, blah, blah. They'll think I'm mad when I start off waffling on. Not that I can blame them. The times have changed. They certainly have. They have changed more than I ever could have imagined they could. What do you mean by that, dear? Oh, don't pay Leof much mind. She's really into history, so she always talks like this. Isn't that right, Leof? Yes, indeed. History is one of my passions. Then I'd be more than happy to welcome you in my home. I'm a piece of history myself. I'd only be happy to share my stories with you. That sounds wonderful. I would love to converse with more with the residents of this era. Your era, she means. Leof's pretty into World War II. Huh? Leof stares at me. I know the words what World War are hanging on her lips, so I hasten to hurry the conversation along. So Leof can stay here, is that right? It's quite fine with me. I'd be glad for her company, though. I can't imagine she'd want to spend too much time with me. You two girls should enjoy yourself. You only get to experience your youth once. Don't let me hold you back. There's precious little to do, but the church is very pretty and there's a small library. There's the forest, too, but I'd warn you not to venture out too far. Strange creatures lurk in the forest, my darlings. And if they catch you, they'll never let you go. For once, I don't shake my head and roll my eyes at Grandma's apocryphal warning. How could I? She's been right the whole time. The forest is enchanted, and I'm sure I've only witnessed a small sliver of what it has to offer. So, what do you think? About this house? Oh, it's simply amazing. Leof twirls about the kitchen, her fingers clasped together at her front like Maria from The Sound of Music. You just need to replace this backdrop with a sprawling Austrian Alps, and you'd have the most almost perfect shot-for-shot rendition of the movie. Speaking of which, I've never actually seen The Sound of Music all the way through to the end, to my mother's chagrin. It's way too long, and I have better things to do with my time. I can hardly believe your grandmother lives in this house on her own. Why, it is large enough to accommodate 10 whole families. My grandma did have a family, but her sons and daughters all grown up now, and her husband's dead. Oh, yes, your grandmother did mention that. The excitement must have gone to my head. I apologize, I was not thinking. Leof pauses her exuberant twirling, her expression suitably contrite as she glances around the kitchen. There's an old, sepia-tinted photograph hanging on the wall of my grandparents from 40 years ago. They look young and happy. My grandma was her chiffon hat and pearl earrings. My grandfather was his slick-back hair and button-up shirt. My grandparents are posing in their sprawling lawn in front of the lake with their 5 children. Uncle Jim, Aunt Ellison, Uncle Stephen, Aunt Lita, and my dad with bruised knees and a bright grin. I've always been fascinated with that photo. It's strange to see my grandparents looking so young with only a few wrinkles about their eyes and mouths. What is it, Marnie? Is it a portrait? I guess it's kind of a portrait, yes. It's easier going along without explaining what photographs are, particularly when I'm not entirely sure how they work myself. I mean, what am I, Google? I don't think so. For a portrait, it looks incredibly lifelike. The painter must have had a very keen eye. And who are the people within the frame? They look somewhat familiar, like that woman. Leof peers at my gran. She's posing by my grandpa's side, an arm wrapped particularly around her waist. Is that your grandmother? That's Grandma Iris, yeah, and Grandpa Frank's next to her. I think you'd have liked Frank if you could have met him. Everyone did. He was a nice man. He liked going for walks in the forest, too. He knew which mushrooms were edible and which weren't, and he could tell the birds apart by the sound of their cries. He looks like a fine man indeed, and so does his family. They looked very happy together. I'm sure they were. This family is quite a large one, too. Really? Weren't families even bigger than this back in your day? They were, if the mothers could survive the strain of childbirths. Of course, bereaved husbands often took on 1 or 2 more wives after their first had died. There were some families with up to 10, 11, maybe even 12 children. But I only ever had my brother Edmund. Our family was unusually small, and the two of us were very close. I thought we were at least, but... Yeah, my grandfather actually has 11 sisters and 11 brothers, and he's the perfect middle between all of them. There's 23 siblings. I doubt we ever smiled quite as much as your grandmother's family did. They look so carefree. Well, it was a different time. And yet, no matter what age it is, people still get old and die. Oh, that's Leof. This house must have been filled with happiness once. Now it feels rather sad. A large house like this is certainly impressive, but it does feel somewhat cold. Not that I wish to judge your grandmother's abode. I apologize if I have said anything uncouth. It's fine, I'm not upset. In fact, I agree with you. It seems a little funny that Leof should be so concerned with matters, given she speaks with an oddly intense kind of politeness. I don't know if she could be upset with anybody, even if she wanted to. Anyway, now that you've met my grandma, I think you should probably have a bath. Oh yes, you are quite right. I did get rather dirty during my skirmish. Dirty is one way of phrasing it. I managed to clean most of the blood from her clothes, but I bet her arm's still dripping with it. Is there any place I may bathe nearby? Perhaps a lake or a small stream? Well, there's a lake in the garden, but... Wonderful. Then I'll go there post-haste. Wait! I grab a hold of Leof's shoulder, and before she can go storming off. I might have been able to explain Leof's more prominent quirks to my grandma, but skinny dipping in her lake would be taking things too far. There'd be no coming back from that social fox pass. This is the 21st century, remember? You don't need to clean yourself in the lake. In fact, that's largely frowned upon. Then how else am I supposed to get clean? I don't understand. You don't need to understand. Just come with me. We need to go upstairs. Stairs? But my lady, how could there be a large body of water upstairs? The ceiling does not look nearly deep enough to accommodate such things. Oh, you'd be surprised. Then, are you saying... Leof's eyes sparkle with childish excitement. Is there a manner to clean oneself using magic? You don't know the half of it. Prepare to be amazed. Sure, it didn't say nudity or anything, so hopefully they don't show anything. How incredible! The water is appearing from thin air. It looks so clean and pure, just like glass. Could it be? Leof reaches out, her hand curled about the side of the bathtub. She brushes a stream of warming water with her fingertips, and then... Oh! She gasps, either in surprise or delight. It's hard to tell, and draws back amazed. It feels just as real as any water, and it's warm too. How could this be? Is it some kind of enchantment? Nah, it's nothing that fantastical. This is just a miracle of modern plumbing. Plumbing? Leof's brow furrows. What is that? How does that work? Please tell me. With nary a warning, Leof reaches out and entwines my fingers between her own. The fingertips of her right hand are a little damp from the bathwater, and a few loose droplets trickle down my digits. I wish to learn as much about this area and its wonderful inventions as I can. It is only now I realize how truly ignorant I am. But I will persevere, and I will do my utmost to understand how the so-called plumbing works. Well, about that. I glance away shyly. Why am I so retiring about this girl? My cheeks tinge to pale pink. Leof is standing so close to me, our nostrils are only inches apart, and I can feel her breath on my cheek, though my skin prickles. Does she have no concept of personal space? Perhaps that wasn't invented back in the 8th century, just like schools, photographs, and running water. I could try and explain it, but I don't really understand it. Do you want to know how it works? You could always Google it. Google? What is that? It's a search engine. You ask it questions and it can give you answers most of the time, at least. Then, is this so-called Google some kind of wise druid, or maybe an oracle? I guess you could say that, yeah. But let's not get into discussion about the World Wide Web right now. I don't even understand how Wi-Fi works, and I use the internet practically every single day. If Leoth's gushing poetic about the wonders of earning water, wait till she learns about Amazon and Twitter and Facebook. I think she might just have a heart attack. Speaking of heart attacks, you're standing a bit too close. Oh yes, my apologies. Leoth draws back, smiling abashedly as she does so. I did not mean to make you uncomfortable, my lady. Please forgive me for my gross breach of conduct. I was so overwhelmed, I quite forgot my manners, but oh, this era is truly wonderful. I am surrounded by so many incredible things. It makes me wonder how I was able to live without all these inconveniences. Oh gosh, introducing modern tech to an 8th century girl, I know, right? I'm gonna blow her freaking mind, and not to mention with her being so old and having to traverse this world without even being able to read and write. Even if you taught her how to use Google, you'd have to teach her how to read. I am surrounded by so many incredible things. It makes me wonder how I was able to live without all these conveniences. Gotta teach her to read first and write. Yeah, that's gonna be a big task. You can't just abandon her, but you'd have to like give her a crash course. Maybe because the Gran was a teacher. Maybe if you did come clean about what she is and who she is and all that, I kinda hope that it doesn't end up with her going back to the past. Like it ends up being a sad ending. Leoth takes a seat on the side of the bathtub, which is slowly rising with water. The water's drawn against the inside of the tub, and a faint sheen of mist settles upon the brass taps and the tiles. The mirror above the sink starts to fog over, and maybe I think vaguely the water is just a little too hot. I don't want Leoth scalding herself when she finally climbs into the tub. I wish to know as much of this world as possible, so that I may assimilate. I have no desire to cause you any grief. I know it must seem woefully anachronistic to you, but these are all new experiences for me, and it's hard to me to react appropriately. Well, for not being able to read and write, at least because she seems to have a good, vocabulary. I am doing the best to behave as a knight should, yet this is also very much to take in. I'm not bothering you, am I, milady? No, you're not, but you're no bother. If anything, I think Leoth looks kind of cute when she waxes poetic all the time. All the simple things I take for granted. But catch me saying that out loud in a hurry. I wouldn't want her to get a swollen head. It's not like the cuteness completely offsets her annoyingness. Now, do you think you'll be alright on the bath on your own? What? Leoth stares at me. Are you not gonna bathe with me, my dear lady? What? No! Of course I don't want to bathe with you. It's out of the question. What? But why? Does she truly not understand why I'm so opposed to her modest proposal, or is she just trying to play some kind of joke on me? Well, I mean, modesty probably wasn't a thing until later on when every person had a private bathing quarters. Stuff like that just did not exist. Building entire facilities to bathe, everybody was probably all the time seeing people nude back then. Just going down to the river to both bathe and clean your own clothes. So, I mean, entire families were probably all the time seeing each other naked. Leoth doesn't seem like the kind of girl who'd find pleasure in flustering other people, so I guess I'll have to go for option A. She really is pure. Either that or a fool. I can't bathe with you. That isn't how things are done in this area. It isn't? No. I fail to see why not. We are both women. There should be no cause for scandal. Bathing was a communal activity back in my time. Women often helped scrub one another. It made things much simpler. Maybe. It was normal in your area. But times have changed. You don't need to help me. I've been washing myself since I was a little kid. Oh, that is rather sad. But if that's the way things are done here, I cannot complain too much. It does seem somewhat strange to me, though. I cannot understand your reasoning at all. The tub seems big enough for both of us, and you also need to have a bath. Would this not save time? It would be convenient, sure, but that isn't the real problem here. I can hardly get in a tub with a girl I've known for less than a day. I'm sorry, but it really isn't possible. You go in the bath first, I'll follow later. But if you're sure, my lady, I am your humble knight, does it not stand to reason that you should bathe before I? That seems only fitting. Don't worry about it too much. You need to wash all that blood from your shoulder. I'm fine with waiting. Well, I would prefer it if you would stay here so I can protect you should any trouble arise, but I do not want to be a burden either. If you think it's best, she wouldn't be much of a knight if she didn't, but something about her words makes me pause. Why would you need to protect me? One can never be too careful. As your knight, it would not do if I let you get hurt. I won't get hurt. We're not in the forest anymore. Gran's house is safe. Yes, I imagine it is. It should be at least, but... Leah frowns, her lips drawing into a serious line. Her previous excitement over the bathtub is already forgotten. Why does she look so serious? Well, I mean, it was probably dangerous. You always had to be on your guard. It probably just, not even just people, but monsters. Who knows what was crawling? I don't know. That's what I'd like to believe, but maybe the magic that cloaks Fanchapel's forest is further reaching than I or my grandma even dared to imagine. Or it used to be. Maybe it's declining. While Leof luxuriates in the tub, I search for more suitable clothes she can change into. She can't spend her days in Fanchapel attire in her coarse green garb. That would surely draw attention. I can hardly let Leof wear my clothes. I only packed enough for me, and Gran's clothes wouldn't fit, but I think Gran kept us hold of some of Aunt Lita's and Aunt Allison's old clothes from back when they were teenagers. Gran's prone to nostalgia, and she finds it hard to part with things that reminded her of her past. She even has poor Georgie, the parrot's disused bird cage, stashed somewhere in the attic. I should be able to find something that will fit Leof among my aunt's unwanted cast-offs, even if the styles will be 30 or 40 years out of date. Well, that should suit Leof down to a T. Her entire existence is out of date. I just hope she likes ruffled blouses and high-waisted skirts. And so, half an hour later... Oh, she's cute. I'm not a big fan of the polka dots, but I think she could have found something a little bit better. Incredible. Is this really me? Leof examines her reflection in the mirror. The clothes she's currently wearing came from Aunt Lita's wardrobe, and I think they suit her. Aunt Lita's fashion style has gotten progressively weirder as time worn on, but she didn't always dress in black, shapeless robes. When she was my age, she was very fashion conscious, and she had a lot of nice clothes to pick from. For 1980 standards, that is. I know you don't look like a knight, but it's the best I could do. My Aunt Lita didn't have any chainmail in her drawers. Oh no, it's quite alright. I know I am a knight deep within my heart. I do not need a dressed apart, though that is quite fulfilling too. I have no qualms with updating my look. I would not want to draw too much attention. Still, Leof twirls about in front of the mirror. This fabric feels so nice and soft, it must be awfully expensive. I doubt it. They're all mass-produced, even if they're a few decades old by this point. Maybe they fetch a decent amount if you sold them on eBay. People like vintage things. eBay? It's, like a big shop. But you did not pay for these. Not a penny. They're Aunt Lita's old things. She's a grown woman and doesn't wear these sorts of clothes anymore. Then tell your Aunt Lovely, tell your lovely aunt I said thank you. These clothes are so different from what I'm accustomed to, though that's not a bad thing. It's quite refreshing, really. I am seeing myself in a new light. I never knew my legs were quite this long. It's rather novel, only. Leof tugs at the hem of her polka dot skirt, a self-conscious blush tingling on her cheeks. Don't you think it's a bit too short? Not really. It's longer than mine, and you're wearing tights. I figured this would be easier to walk in than Aunt Lita's bell-bottom trousers, but I can fetch you a pair if you'd prefer. Oh no, you are the one familiar with current fashion trends, not I, so I shall trust your judgment. I really am glad that you took the time to find me some suitable clothes. You have proved yourself to be a very dear friend. Friends, are we? I thought we were a lady and her knight, but I'll take friends over that any day of the week. I don't have all that many friends back in Grismy. Most of the girls in my class think I'm weird, and I guess I am. I'm perpetually gloomy and unenthused, like Eeyore, but less cute, and I don't like making small talk, particularly about my looks. When I first started secondary school, girls were always trying to play with my hair without permission and cooing about how cute and small I was. I glared at them, bearing my fangs, and they backed off sharpish. And when did they kiss? I don't know. I'm wondering. Surely it's probably gonna turn that way, especially if it's that short of a game, you know? Sorry, I was stretching. Marnie definitely seems into her. Now, nobody really tries to speak to me other than a few fellow social recluses howling among them. It's not like I'm gagging for attention or anything, don't get me wrong. Someone clip it when it happens and send it to me, please. I'll make sure to get screenshots. Being with Leof is kind of nice. Perhaps that's why I returned Leof's eager smile with one of my own. Thanks, I'm glad I met you too, and if you really want, then sure, I'll be your friend. After our brief discussion by the mirror, I retreat to the bathroom so I can clean myself up. I didn't know quite how sore my muscles were until I sank into the tub. I have a few scrapes on my knee and cut on my leg from a nasty fall, but there's nothing compared to the injuries Leof sustained on my behalf. Edmund's sword cut through her shoulder as though it was a slab of meat. He would have killed her, but she didn't make a single complaint. How was she able to withstand such a devastating blow? It must be magic. Maybe Leof's body isn't made of flesh and bone like mine, but something stronger. I luxuriate for a while, letting all the tension drain from my body as my hair curls about me on the water. My thoughts are focused, not on my own cleanliness, nor the stinging in my afflicted hand, but on my new friend. Leof, huh? She's a funny one. I don't know what to make of her. She's certainly strange, there's no two ways about that, but I guess I'll give her weird behavior a pass. It's not her fault she comes from a completely different era. If I was taken from the creature comfort of the modern era and plunked down unceremoniously in the 8th century, I'd have no idea how to react. I'd probably contract a life-threatening disease and tumble headfirst into a whale 5 minutes after. All things considered, Leof's taking this change of pace really well. Her enthusiasm must be catching, because I catch myself smiling, which is rare for me. I hardly ever smile. Over the course of my 16 years, I've learned that my smile encourages people to talk to me. Most of the people mean well, of course, but fending off comments about how small and dainty I am. Just how old are you, really? Gets pretty old quick. It's easier to skulk around in the background, a perpetual frown on my face that keeps people at bay. In time, I started to double down on my unapproachable appearance. I caked my face with white foundation and ringed my eyes with dark eyeshadow, so I looked perpetually sleepy. I wore black and ripped fishnets, and strangers stopped making a fuss. When I'm with Leof, I don't worry as much about appearances as I usually do, though. I feel like I can afford to let my guard down around her. Maybe it's because she's so strange and unusual herself. Or maybe it's because she's sworn herself to being my mate. She said she'd protect me. I don't know what it is she has to protect me from, but I do appreciate it. I hope I'll be able to return the favor one day. After my bath, Leof and I head downstairs to have dinner with my grandma. We don't eat in the dining hall at the too large table made for 12. Instead, we take a relaxed, decidedly more cozy meal in the kitchen, which is filled with homey scent of shepherd's pie. Gran's hand-eye coordination might not be what it used to be, but she still knows her way around the kitchen. Her porridge this morning was hearty and nourishing, but she really shines when it comes to meat and veg. Her shepherd's pie is delicious. It's golden brown on the outside with just the right amount of crunch, but not even that can hold a candle to Sunday roast. Gran's big Sunday roasts were one of the main reasons why I enjoyed our weekly trips to Friend Chapel during my childhood. That and the fact I got to play with Ruby and Pearl and Ella, David, and Oliver. Sadly, my myriad cousins aren't here. Now it's just Gran, Leof, and me, a trio small enough to fit about the small kitchen table that overlooked the garden. Here you go, Leof, dear. I hope you like it. Gran sets a plate of steaming shepherd's pie down in front of Leof with a hostess's proud smile upon her lips. There isn't enough for seconds, unfortunately, but as I didn't know I'd be entertaining a guest. But you're more than welcome to help yourself to some cheese and crackers or some pudding. Do you like strawberries, dear? I have a lot of them, and they need eating. I also have some apple pie I made a few days ago. Feel good, there's one slice left. You can have that with a clotted cream if you like. Leave Leof alone, Gran. You're overwhelming her. Just let her enjoy her dinner in peace. Oh yes, you're quite right, of course. Forgive me, where are my manners? I don't mean to overwhelm you, dear. Please forgive this old woman. I'm just glad to have somebody else around here to liven this place up. Now, feel free to dig in. Don't wait for me, you're a growing girl. And nothing makes me happier than seeing people enjoy my food. Yeah, overwhelming the girl with food. She's probably never eaten something that extravagant either. I mean, she seems to be from a poor family. She doesn't even know how to read and write. She was astonished. Well, of course she'd be astonished at TV. It didn't exist, but she probably never even tasted. She's probably been like, this must be some like rich person's food. Leof stares at the plate of shepherd's pie in awe. Her eyes are positively sparkling, as though she's never seen a more amazing sight. Forget the Eiffel Tower, the Leaning Tower of Pisa, or Big Ben. The most amazing landmark in all of Europe is, without a shadow of doubt, my grandma's cooking. Is this food really all for me? Well, it isn't for the neighbor's cat. But this, I've never seen food that looks like this before. Leof shifts a little closer to me and mumbles under her breath. What is this, Marnie? It's yellow, but parts of it look also brown, and it looks fluffy. It's mashed potatoes, duh. Potato? That's right. Don't you know what potatoes are? I thought that was all medieval people ate. Potatoes and meat. We rarely had meat when I was a young girl. It was too expensive, though rabbit was one of my favorites. Then what did you eat? Mostly bread, eggs, oats. We had vegetables that was grown from the ground too, like carrots and cabbages. We had too much cabbage, actually. I soon began to tire of it. I was partial to honey, though sweet foods like that were not partially common. We're unable to afford spices, but sometimes we had mint and parsley. These potatoes, though. And she never heard of potatoes before. That one's a little bit of a stretch. Because potatoes are literally the most common vegetable, and it survives harsh winters. It was peasants' favorite thing to grow because it grew under the ground and survived the harshness of frozen frost of the ground in the winters. So to think that she never knew what potatoes were. Yeah, potatoes are a new world food, apparently. Leof sinks the teens of her fork deeper into the soft, fluffy mounds of mashed potatoes on her plate. From the Americas. They are quite perplexing. Are they like parsnips? Well, I guess they're both root vegetable, but they taste a little different. New World food from the Americas, 14th century onward. Did you Google it? Seriously though, how can you not know what a potato is? Leof's bemusement over photographs and running water was expected, but I never thought she'd be stumped by something as simple as a common potato. Have you been living under a rock these last few years? I mean, she was living under a tree. I was sleeping in a forest, but I do not believe there were many rocks around me. Ah, it's useless using proverbs around her. She's too old-fashioned and she doesn't understand. Oh, neat. I didn't know that. Maybe it was a newer vegetable that they discovered. But I know during the technological revolution and, before that, really, I think it was the era when they had castles and stuff. 1500s and onward. Yeah, because I knew it was a farmer's favorite for a while because of it survives frost and stuff. Hold on, I'm gonna mute and blow my nose real fast. Okay, I'm back. Did people in medieval England really not have access to potatoes? I thought they could grow everywhere. I'll have to look this up later. It's a good thing my phone still gets a sliver of signal even though Franchapel's in the middle of nowhere. They were cultivated by South Americans for 8,000 years but have only been in Europe cuisine about 500 years. Huh, I did not know that. I am most interested in these potatoes. I suppose I shall dig in. Leof brings a spoonful of shepherd's pie to her lips. Steam rises from the mashed potato and she blows on it delicately, perhaps afraid of burning her tongue before she puts it in her mouth. So it does actually make sense that Leof would never heard of a potato. Yeah, that does make a lot more sense. She closes her eyes, eyelashes matting together. As she chews, she swallows, and... My goodness, I had no idea that potatoes could be so very delicious. There's such a rich, complex mixture of flavors. The meat is juicy, and the potatoes are soft but crispy at the same time. And, oh... This is amazing. It is the most wonderful thing I have ever had in my life. This must be the stuff that kings and lords subside on. I simply must try more. Leof digs into her food eagerly, all traces of her earlier skepticism gone. Bran watches from across the table, smiling gently. It seems my shepherd pie is going down a treat. You like it, Leof? Very much so. In fact, as well as potatoes, tomato, corn, beans, squash, chili, cacao, and vanilla would also be completely alien to her. Yep, true. Or at least somewhat alien. I actually have a funny, I don't know about funny, but anecdote about tomatoes. There was a story about a king, and they went to, because back in the day it was believed that tomatoes were poisonous, and but they weren't actually poisonous. It was because of lead was used as a widely used metal, and when using with creating plates. So whenever you would eat a tomato, the acid from the tomato would eat at the lead in the plate, and it would give people lead poisoning, and it would kill them. And so for the longest time, people thought tomatoes were poisonous. But then one day there was a man that was trying to assassinate the king, and he brought the king a spaghetti plate, basically, with lots of tomato sauce in it. And the king loved the dish and didn't die from it. And but that was because of just the year before they had swapped to porcelain plates and no longer had lead in it. I don't remember which king. I think it was one of the Georges, but I just can't remember. I'm glad. Just don't eat too quickly, dear. I don't want you to choke. Oh, I will be careful, my good woman. I would not want to waste my single scrap of your food. Really, though, you must be some kind of enchantress to procure something so wonderful from such simple ingredients. Not a completely unfounded concern. Potatoes and tomatoes are both nightshades, and people from the time associated nightshades with poison. Yeah, I mean, if you get used to something being colored or a certain way, you probably think they're poisonous. Which, technically, potatoes, whenever they're still green, are poisonous. If you eat too much of the green from the potato when they're too ripe, it'll actually poison you. Really, though, you must be... okay, I read that. Well, Frank always did say I had magic fingers in the kitchen. Perhaps he was right. I didn't magic this up from nothing, though. Most of the ingredients came from Sainsbury. The carrots were grown in our very own garden. There's some onions in there, too, and peas, and Worcestershire sauce for the taste. I know some people don't like Worcestershire sauce, but I'm glad it's been such a hit. It is incredible. If only my father had been able to cook like this. I fear I am not worthy of such a rare delicacy. Tears began to beat and now I'm reading in Grandma's voice. Tears began to beat in Leo's eyes. There's a reason we eat toots and not the fruit. Did she like the food that much that it brought her to tears? No way, my grandma's cooking is good, but it's not that good. Well, you've been spoiled. Just how bland is what the food and Leof used to eat. I hardly dare to imagine. So, Marnie, whatever happened to my picnic hamper? Oh, shoot, I knew I was forgetting about something. I must have left it in the forest. I squirmed guiltily. All of a sudden, I feel like I'm being interrogated by my head of year. It's the Marnie Lennox told Leona Davies to drink bleach during PE incident all over again. Not that I was to blame for that. Leof is experiencing flavor for the very first time. I mean, yeah, I did tell Leona Davies to drink bleach, but she told me I was so short I looked like Creature from Harry Potter. And then she pinged the back of my bra strap when I was getting changed. She deserved it. My head of year, Miss Gillespie, was not convinced. I'm sorry, Gran. I was so caught up in meeting Leof at the bus stop it kinda slipped my mind. I think I must have left it in the forest. You're not mad, are you? Oh no, quite the contrary. I'm just glad to see you're in one piece, dear. But that hamper was old, wasn't it? Sure. That hamper was old, wasn't it? You've had it for years. I have, it's true, but it's not gone forever. I'm sure you'll be able to find it eventually. And if I can't? That would be unfortunate, yes, but there's no need to worry. That hamper is only an object. I don't store my memories inside physical things. They're all inside my head, you see. That's what Gran says, but I have my doubts. If that's true, why has she hung on to George's birdcage and Aunt Lita's clothes and my dad's toy train set? Maybe she's more upset than she's letting on. I'm rather curious about the gift that slipped into the hamper. Did you find it, dear? Oh yes, that's right. I was going to thank you, but I totally forgot. It's right here, Gran. I pat my skirt pocket where the necklace lies, hidden out of sight. Thanks for the gift, I really appreciate it. You're welcome, dear. I thought it might come in handy. Keep it close, alright? You never know when you may need it. It's a precious heirloom that's been passed down on my side of the family for generations. It's imbued with all sorts of powers. I just hope it can keep you safe. Let's save. Back in the days of yore, when the Lennox family was together as... Now I'm stuck doing the grandma's voice. Back in the days of yore, when the Lennox family was together as one, my grandparents slept in the master bedroom with its large double beds, and it was a walk-in wardrobe that smelled of rosewater. My Uncle Jim, being the oldest child, had one of the second largest bedroom in the house all to himself. He populated it with dirty socks and plates covered in crumbs and pilfered meat pies, my gran always being a dab hand in the kitchen, and he used to smell a fussy teenage boy when he was younger. Or so my dad says. My dad never liked Uncle Jim very much. Maybe that's because a 10-year gap between them and my uncle. Uncle Jim took the advantage of this at every chance he got. Uncle Jim was always bossing my dad around when they were kids. Once when he caught my dad fiddling with his radio, he hit my dad over the head with it and broke it. The third largest bedroom went to the oldest daughter, Allison, while the fourth bedroom belonged to the youngest daughter, Lita. My dad, being the youngest, had to share his bedroom with Uncle Stefan, and Uncle Jim moved out. Then he took Uncle Jim's room. Gran still sleeps in their own bedroom, and I chose Aunt Lita's old room as my temporary bedroom. Aunt Lita's room is small but cozy, and it overlooks the garden. From the wide windows. You can see a new view of the lake. I think it's fairly nice as far as rooms go. I'm particularly fond of Vanity Table by the old wooden wardrobe, with the rosebud carved around the mirror and the brass handles. As it stands, there are 3 rooms in my grandma's house that Leof could choose to step in. It's not like there's a dire shortage of beds, unlike the inn at Vasselheim, where Jesus was born. That's one of my... I mean, it's not been particularly bad, but I think they go on and on too much about the details. Like, they literally took a novel and made it a visual novel, and it's just too much words. Especially with nothing going on. It just feels like a majority of this game is them detailing what's going on around you. But you don't need to do that. I guess they were skimping out on some of the pictures, but they may have had to. Because all the pictures have been very detailed and beautiful. But maybe she was hoping to scare me into submission. I know she used to terrorize my mother when we were younger. That being the case, in this current situation doesn't make any sense. I can't wrap my head around it. That's a nice outfit. What are you doing in my room? Please don't raise your voice, my lady. My purposes are not nefarious, I promise you. I have come in here because I must. As your knight, it is my duty to protect you. And to do that, I must remain by your side. I get all that, but do you really need to stick by me 24/7, even when I'm asleep? I'm glad Leof cares so much about my welfare so much, but I think she might be taking things a bit too far. This all sounds like a bit fishy, if you ask me. Oh, yes, it is imperative that I stay by you at all times. You are at your most vulnerable when you sleep. That is precisely why you need my protection the most. But I'm staying with my gran. It's not like there's anything in here that would hurt me. Right? Lamau. Of that, I am not certain. Perhaps you are correct and I am being too cautious. But it is better to be safe than sorry. Is that not how the old saying goes? So Leof's family is familiar with that turn of phrase, huh? I thought she was impervious to proverbs, but I guess some sayings are universal enough that they can span centuries. As you know, the forest that borders this village is full of mysterious creatures and ill omens. It is entirely possible that they lurk the darkness streets when the moon is full. It's almost a full moon, you see. Leof points out the window. I follow the direction of her finger. True to her words, the inky night sky beyond the window is illuminated by a round pale moon. It is quite a full moon, but only a small sliver is needed to create a perfect, pearly circle. It's not like I believe in astrology or that the shifting of the planets can impact our personalities or relationships, but so many bizarre things have happened to me today. The almost full moon looks oddly eerily. I can't help but shudder. Maybe the full moon does signify something celestial important. What do I know? The world is much more mysterious than I ever gave it credit for. The full moon is said to contain untold powers. The full moon is said to contain untold powers. I have heard emperors that were driven madness because of it. I would never forgive myself if you were hurt because of my own carelessness. That's why I must stay with you, as your knight. Leof's intense eyes bore into mine. I swallowed abashed and looked away. I guess it's no use talking to her about it. She's as immovable as a boulder, and she refuses to budge. Being stubborn must have been a prerequisite for any knight back in the day, particularly a female one. But what little do I know about the early ADs, it wasn't a wonderful period to be a woman. I don't think I can dissuade Leof. It isn't possible. Alright, fine. You can stay in my room with me if you really want, but where are you going to sleep? The floor isn't cozy, and I don't have a camp bed. That's a simple matter. I will sleep by your side in this very bed. There is plenty of room, and I will be at hand to protect you should the need arise. It really is a perfect plan. Perfect, you say? I don't know about that. Why? What is the problem, milady? There's a whole bunch of problems. For one thing, we're still strangers. Really? I thought we were friends. We can be friends, but that doesn't mean I want to sleep with you. This is all moving too soon. I beg your pardon? But forget it. This is just it'll never work. There's no way I can share my bed with you. I cannot change your mind? No, you cannot. So don't even bother. That's my final word, and I'm sticking to it. That's final. Kiss, kiss, kiss. But despite my protests... find myself sharing my bed with Leof. My bed, well, it's actually Aunt Lita's old bed. She lives over in York now. So it's not like she has any use for it. It isn't small, but Leof's body still feels way closer to mine. Maybe that's a form of magic too. Why is my heart beating so hard? I'm gonna take another drink. I actually think they could have went longer with this game. Stretched it out a little bit. Her legs keep brushing against my own beneath the covers, and her brown hair tickles my cheek. Every time she exhales, her breath dances at the nape of my neck, and I shudder. This is unbearable. It feels like torture. The full moon might have driven the Emperor Caligula to madness. Not that I know much about history, but at least he didn't have to reckon with Leof. How am I supposed to sleep like this? I turn about in bed, rumpling the covers, and examine my gently dozing companion. Her eyelashes are matted together, and her lips are faintly pursed in sleep, almost like a princess's from a fairy story. Though she's a knight, undoubtedly skilled with a sword, she's really pretty. I need to stop thinking about this like this, or I'll never be able to get shut-eye. Jeez. I sigh. Some brave, noble knight you are. You fell asleep before I did. Leof doesn't reply. She cocooned deeply in the world of sleep, her eyes closed. She looks much as I did when I first found her in the forest, sword in hand, head lolling, just like a life-size doll. But shallow though it is, Leof's chest is unmistakably moving up and down in sleep. Her lips part and minty breast. Toothpaste was another novelty to my self-proclaimed knight. Brushes my cheek. She really is alive. She's real. This all feels fantastical, but how can I deny the truth when it's inches away from my face? I found a sleeping knight in an enchanted glade deep within the forest. I thought nothing interesting ever happened in Fenchapel, but I was wrong. I feel like I embarked upon an adventure of a lifetime. This is undoubtedly amazing, but what am I going to do with you? Sigh again. I have to go back home soon, you know? My parents will pick me up in a few days. Then where will we go? You don't have any family or friends. You are all alone. Leof doesn't stir. She continues to lie there, immobile, unaware of how much trouble she's causing. You can stay with me and my gran for a while, but who knows what will happen after that. It's not like I can take you to Grimsby with me. You're a real girl, not a pet. I can hardly beg my parents to take you in. It's not possible. They'd think I was mad, and who knows, maybe I am. I reach out hesitantly and coil a strand of Leof's brown hair to my index finger, just to double check that she really is real. Her hair is soft and silky. It feels cool against my skin. I shiver. Hey, Leof, what do you think? Where will you go when this is all over? What will you do? Leof sighs in her sleep. She turns over, pulling the covers with her, and buries her cheek against her pillow. Softly, so softly, I think I must be imagining it. She murmurs something beneath her breath. Well, not only is she recovering from injuries, but she's also probably never been in a bed like this before either. Softly, so softly, I must be imagining it. She murmurs something under her breath. Perhaps it was just my imagination, but I swear it sounds just like Edmund. Well, she's probably worried about him. Forever cursed. Ow! Hi, Susu. How are you doing? I didn't get very much sleep last night. Leof's closeness agitated my heart too much. I was only able to snatch about 3 or 4 hours of an intermittent rest. Hi. Have some hearts. I yawn as I sit at the breakfast table and almost fall face first into Gran's porridge. Fortunately, Gran isn't here to comment on the bags beneath my eyes. She said that she felt a little tired this morning and went to put her feet up in the living room after serving us breakfast. It's just Leof and I in the kitchen now, basking in the early morning sunshine. But it does little to rejuvenate me. The sunlight hurts my eyes. I shrink away from it, hissing like Nosferatu. Or does it have to be so stupidly bright? Even the chirping of the birds outside is trying my patience. I look at my reflection in my cup of chamomile tea. My face is so pale I could have skipped out my foundation altogether, and I didn't even bother with my favorite black eyeshadow. Shadows beneath my eyes are dark enough to render my makeup unnecessary. I guess you could consider that a plus? Are you alright, my lady? Leof looks at me with evident concern. She slept like a log. Unlike me, she succumbed to the land of dreams the moment her head had touched the pillow, and she didn't stir until around 8 o'clock in the morning. It's easy for some people. Think having been frozen in magical cryogenic sleep for more than 1,000 years, she wouldn't need to rest quite so much. But I guess not. Maybe the wound she sustained yesterday took its toll, who knows. I'm fine, you don't need to worry about me. But as your knight, it is my duty to worry about you. I think you're giving yourself too many duties. It's because of Leof's rampant desires to protect me that I got little sleep in the first place. This is her fault. Nonsense. I could never worry about you too much. Excuse me. It is no burden, trust me. Maybe it's not a burden for you, but for me, you fuss about me even more than my own mother does. And I wish my mother had been given the opportunity to fuss over me. Alas, she died shortly after I was born and never had the chance to know her. Oh, well, now that's cast something of a pall over the breakfast table. I'm sorry to hear that. You need not to apologize, my lady. I was merely stating a fact. Women often died in childbirth during my era. It was to be expected. That was one of the reasons why I was so averse to the idea of having children. My brother tried to talk me around, but I was always so flighty. I doubt I would have made a good mother. Being a knight is much more exciting than slaving away over a stove and wiping dirty noses. But being a knight comes with its own perils, surely. Oh yes, there was a significantly higher risk of being cut down by a sword or shot through the breast with an arrow. But even those deaths would be less grim than bleeding out after a botched pregnancy. Bards never sing of the trials women face whenever they give birth, but they do like to wax poetic about brave warriors who go off to battle, but I digress. You should count yourself lucky that your family is willing to support you. I must admit, I am somewhat jealous. But in lieu of your mother, I must step in and see to it that you're alright. You don't really have to. But I want to. Now, are you feeling alright? You don't have a temperature, do you? Leof shuffles her chair a little closer to mine, its wooden legs screeching against the flagstone floor. She brushes a few strands of my pale hair to one side and presses the palm of her hand flush against my face. Predictably, I feel my cheeks flush at this close contact. You'd think she was a little less handsy since she comes from a different area than my own. But I guess Leof's a medieval girl through and through, not a stuffy Victorian, and it seems her ideal of personal space is a little different than my own. Did medieval people have a concept of personal space? Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't have much to worry about such trifling matters when people had to huddle together for warmth to survive the wicked winters. You do feel a touch warm. I'm fine, I'm fine really. I back away from Leof in a frenzy, my face burning. Why does being in her company make me feel so perpetually flustered? She's definitely pretty, that goes without saying, but I've never gone to pieces like this around anybody else before. Maybe it's because the magic in the air. Let's just go with that. Oh, there's definitely magic in the air. Magic? Are you finished with that, Leof? Sit up. I gestured to her bowl of porridge and she nodded her head. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. It was most precious. Or delicious. Your grandmother is a talented cook. I can't even do her voice anymore. My voice is so gone. I, was hoping we could finish this today, but I don't even know how much longer it is on the dang thing. there a way to see how long we've been playing? The Magic of Love. Maybe not. Maybe Steam will tell me? Give me a rough estimate. Because if there's like an hour or more, or a couple hours left, maybe I'll save it for next time. But, if it's literally, I don't know. Okay, it says I've been playing 4.8 hours. Yeah, Steam says 4.8 hours, and Google said it takes about 4.5 hours to play it. It could be taking me longer. It could be taking me longer because of I'm reading it on stream and chatting with chat and stuff like that. And there's only 2. Oh, there's a lot of personal achievements. So 40% of chat. So there's probably a good many more. Let's save it again.